This show is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Visit betterhelp.com/allies because honestly, being a human can be exhausting.
Hello, and welcome to the Easy Allies podcast. I'll be your moderator, Daniel Bloodworth. This week, I'm joined by Brad Ellis.
Yo!
Michael Damiani.
Elden Ring.
And in the booth, Isla Hink.
Elden Ring, dude.
So, if you're wondering where Brandon is, he is unfortunately on leave. For the time being, he's taking care of his son in the hospital. If you want to get more info on that, you can go to patreon.com/easyallies and look at the Cup of Jones from this week, where he lays it all out and gives you the details. Things are going well. It's just going to take time. So send him all your love while he is away. We're also going to be putting a pause on the Who Gamed It opening bit because I don't know where that was going. I don't know what the next step in that game was, so we'll see. So we're going to discuss some big headlines from this week and some other topics. But before we do that, we must answer for the mistakes we made in the last episode. Isla, begin corrections music, please.
Boop.
There was no corrections music in the last episode. And my Twitter's not Trailer Jones. We didn't have a stinger. We're getting used to this.
Sorry.
Brandon has cut every episode of this podcast until now. So just like I'm having to get used to this part, Isla and Don are having to get used to cutting it.
Sorry.
So yeah, we'll get there. In the game, I said Street Fighter 2 Turbo has 17 characters. It was actually Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. The game writer had it correct. I just left the super off for some stupid reason. Somebody was saying, pointing out Wii games downloaded from the Wii U shop are not really emulated because the Wii U has the Wii hardware in it, so it can just natively run Wii games. Crunchyroll is not the second video streaming platform on Switch. Aside from Hulu, there's also YouTube, Twitch, Funimation, etc. Still no Netflix, even though it was on 3DS and the Wii and all kinds of other stuff. Yeah.
Weird.
And then just a general note on corrections. If you're going to leave a correction, leave it in the YouTube comments on either version. Use the word correction, and it'll help too if you have a timestamp for when you're making that correction, so I know what we're talking about. Sometimes there'll be a correction, I'm like, when did we even say that? I don't know.
Keep it tidy.
Yeah.
But, end corrections music. All right, so last week, we talked about 2 countdowns. We talked about Street Fighter 6 countdown. At the time, we didn't know it was Street Fighter 6, but we also knew it was Street Fighter 6. And we talked about Soul Hackers countdown. Now, we have seen both of these things. Mm-hmm. Ben reacted to both of those live very late Sunday night, Monday morning. So check out Ben's direct reactions. But to kind of give a recap, Street Fighter showed just a quick kind of like CG teaser. You see Ryu, you see Luke, you see a logo. Now people have kind of sleuthed out that the logo is just like a tweak of like a stock like Adobe thing. But yeah, what do you guys? Well, first of all, what do you guys think of Street Fighter? And just your reactions to kind of the direction.
Yeah, I think it's definitely apparent that this is RE engine now.
Yeah.
Seems like they have such a great engine, they're just going to use it in everything now, and I don't blame them. Yeah. Interesting that it's a rapid departure, I guess, from what I'm used to from Street Fighter, but I also got that with 4 and 5 from a visual standpoint. It's hard for me to really judge it because I haven't seen it what it looks like in game. I'm personally a fan of the older looking style of Street Fighter games, like the Third Strikes and Alphas, but that's like
when they really went super anime with the sprites.
Like that's what I really like. But
that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Hey, it looked like impressive graphically, like the definition on Ryu, man. You see his back, dude. He looks like Rambo or something.
Yeah, they were really specific to show that toe shot to make you realize this is not like CG. This is like at least it's at very least it's in engine, so you could tell this is real. But yeah, a lot of discourse seems to be surrounding Ryu's kind of like girth, his wideness, basically.
He's a wide body.
It's like,
he's a wide boy now.
I even saw someone make a joke like, "Oh, Capcom forgot that it was they 69 to 4:3 image, so they fixed it and like it's narrow Ryu now, and it's like that looks better." And like, I mean, I feel like as you said, the logo is something. Who said it recently? The best they put it: if it wasn't temporary before, it is now temporary because they can't roll with that going forward after it was like
to
outed.
me, like before we got that revelation of the stock logos, it felt like Fight Night.
Yeah,
it felt like one of EA's Fight Night games. It
Definitely
felt like it fit in with
vibe.
that kind of vibe more than a Street Fighter vibe.
Yeah, it felt like a generic free-to-play online game logo that's trying to appear cooler than they have the budget for. Yeah. But this is Capcom and Capcom Fighters, and they most certainly have some sort of budget
now. Yeah.
And I don't know the reasoning behind wanting to get away from like the older logos, but the Street Fighter part is so distinct for that logo that I feel the very least the SF should have just been this S and F from the old Street Fighter logo thrown if they want to do that at least. And maybe stick to the Roman numeral 6 because, that little tiny 6 down there wasn't really good for me.
I agree.
It looked like
I don't know that he needs to stick to the Roman
Discord
numerals, but definitely, you definitely need to bring back like the Street Fighter.
It has to have some kind of like, extravagance to it because it looked like a mail like icon or Discord or Slack message where I got like 6 like notifications. I'm like, that's not what I think you're going for, right?
Right.
Looked a little amateurish, but I'm with Brad that need to see more because they got the look distinction going for it. It's now questions about how big's the starting roster going to be? Is it going to be bigger or smaller than Street Fighter V? And then what is like kind of like the hook they're doing with it this time?
Gameplay was,
yeah.
And even though it's kind of more realistic in a way, like in the transitions, you do see kind of like the color splash, a little bit of ink effect
got like
there.
That more. He's got like his color scheme's more like a purple and like a yellow kind of color, I think, something along those lines. But it looks very distinct from Ryu's. Ryu's looked more like the Street Fighter 4 announcement trailer, like that black inky kind of thing they have flashing by. So I wouldn't be surprised if they incorporate that somehow in the game. Maybe it won't be like ultra realistic the whole time.
Yeah.
Of course it'll be
Ryu
stylized.
also reminds me of like when Chris Redfield bulked up.
Yeah.
It's gonna have a guest cameo in the next Resident Evil as well.
And he's close enough, man.
I don't know if you if it's in your notes at all.
That actually would be really funny.
That'd be awesome.
Like
even if you can get
dragon
like Chris,
punching zombies.
If you can get Chris Redfield even outfit.
I mean, there was a rumor
awesome.
about Akuma being RE2 that wasn't true. So I mean, now's the time bringing like alt skin for Chris in RE9 or something. Ryu outfit,
Dude, wow.
Can you imagine they let you like do raging demons on like just like zombies or whatever?
Dude, yeah.
Just like
What if they let you like be like let Jill be Chun-Li or something?
exactly.
Like that?
That's like you beat the game instead of like a Chicago typewriter or
That'd be
whatever, kind of the cool weapon. You
such a
just got
sick-
like melee moves.
Oh my god, that'd be so sick.
goofy
dude.
and
Dragon
stupid.
Punch.
Yes. Yeah, like going up to a boss and just doing that.
Oh
like,
my
it doesn't,
god,
like,
that's
just clips through
such a-
everything because it doesn't work.
That's
but
such
it's
a good
still-
idea, Dami.
Please do this, Capcom.
Yeah, please.
I was gonna say as well, Blood. I don't know if it came up in your notes or research, but I was watching a Maximilian dude streaming reactions, and they seem convinced because they saw that they think they read something on a Capcom blog that the director of Bayonetta 2 is helming this game. Apparently, that Capcom brought them over, and they're the ones who are behind this one. So I'm not sure. That's what they were saying, but. If that's true, I mean, that's quite a pedigree right there.
Do you know if that director has any fighting game experience? Like, I don't know anything about them.
No, I'm not entirely sure.
Interesting.
But I mean, there have been like some people swapping teams. The
sure,
16 was supposed to have gotten one of like
the Devil May Cry people. Combat designer.
So everyone seems to be trading, team members here to like up it up. But I do think, it's very important the next time they show it.
We need a clear idea what it's like when you play this game.
It's not just an idea, but like content-wise, they better have a lot of good cards on the table because
5 was bare.
5 had a rough launch. It is in a much better place now, but I don't think they could get away with that again.
Right,
it's not going to fly.
And it makes me wonder if Sony's helping fund this one also, since they did with 5. If this will be on Xbox or anything like that.
It's sort of a good point, Blood, that Brad makes, because
Did they announce platforms? I'm trying to remember.
No, I don't
No, they've
think
announced
so.
platforms, but Sony does have a even bigger stake now because
In fighting games
they
with Evo.
run Capcom Cup now.
Right.
So this could potentially be it could be a sign that maybe if it's not console exclusive, it's like a window of some kind, perhaps, or maybe this get like additional content.
like
I
a
don't
year
know.
earlier. Yeah, maybe something.
But at the same time, we've seen all these mergers and acquisitions that have happened where people
They're
just
like,
let it be, let it be.
Yeah.
I feel Street Fighter is one of those where it's like, nah, that needs to be on as many platforms as
Yeah,
possible.
'cause for a fighting game,
you only
especially.
hurt that game if it's console exclusive.
Because they're competing with NetherRealm, no matter what. So
yeah, you're right. There's so many other competitors right now that I don't
Yeah.
think they can afford that. They
No.
can't be
I
hamstrung.
think it'd be
like that.
smart, to put it on everything.
Plus, there's so many games that are finding, that crossplay really helps them keep the community
Definitely,
working.
yeah.
Oh, that's another big thing. I mean, you said crossplay, but like just what the net code is going to be on
Yeah.
Street Fighter
Well,
6 will be pretty important too.
That fighting game collection, I forgot what it's called.
Yeah,
that
that's
was
the
announced.
next thing is the Capcom Fighting Collection.
Yeah, that has rollback netcode.
Yeah,
so
they're adding
that's a good
rollback
sign,
netcode to all these old arcade games. They're adding training modes to those
which
games.
is great. Yeah, that's awesome.
That is everything I saw looked really cool. I think maybe one or two of those games I've ever played before.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just
Some of them have never come out outside of Japan. Yeah,
just the way they presented it just shows that they are going a little bit above and beyond in that collection compared to maybe some of their previous
Past ones?
efforts.
Yeah. And now that'd be pretty sweet if they do that for Resident Evil, something like that. Come
Yeah.
on, Capcom.
Oh yeah, because Huber keeps wanting to know where that collection is.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
so the Capcom Fighting Collection will have all 5 Darkstalkers games, Super Puzzle Fighter 2, Vampire Savior 2, Red Earth, and more, coming June 24th.
Does it have Pocket Fighters?
I think so. Does it have the full list here?
Coming.
There's like Gem Fighters and then
Super
Pocket-
Gem Fighter
Yeah.
Mini Mix, Cyberbots.
Cyberbots.
Yeah, I don't know about Pocket Fighters. I don't see that.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's the Gem Fighters is kind of the closest thing there. But there's just a ton of
That's-
stuff going on with it.
coming to a lot of platforms.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
coming to PS4, Switch, Steam, and Xbox One.
So,
Yeah.
$60.
and it's like Capcom's whole thing is now PC is like the lead platform for the development. So I wonder if they're just going to try to do multi-plat across the board most of the time now, especially with
Yeah.
a fighting game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how is that net code? How's that? I wonder how that's going to work with Switch, the Switch version.
Supported where
I mean,
it's
they might
supported
just-
where it's supported. on the
They
platform.
might just have their own online infrastructure.
That's what I was thinking.
Or like Monster Hunter Rise was
Oh,
using
right,
that.
that's right. True.
I
True.
don't want to make assumptions. I'm assuming it's what what you're saying, but I'd be curious to see if there's anything that tripped that up at all. But
Yeah.
same time, yeah, maybe it's signs of improvement over there as well. But exciting, like good stuff for
Yeah,
those
great.
fans of those older ones.
Good win for fighting game fans,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
And then the other countdown we talked about last week was for Soul Hackers, and they announced Soul Hackers 2.
I'd never even heard of this game.
Yeah, so apparently, from what Ben was saying, it was on Saturn, and then they had
That's
like
why
a
I've never heard of it.
re-release port or something on 3DS, and now they're just deciding to like,
That's
do a
cool.
sequel.
That's really cool.
It's coming on August 26th. The stream was so funny because once the countdown ended, they were just like, it was like you taking like lightsabers out to the park with your friends. Like they were in just this plaza in front of a shrine with a bunch of lights and people just like swinging swords and kicking and stuff at each other, but like staying like 3 feet apart at all times. Like
sure,
there was
yeah.
never any illusion that somebody was making contact with somebody else. But one of the people performing, like they had on this sweet like yellow jacket that like actually had lights, like
Whoa,
these
cool.
triangles lighting up in different patterns, and then the wig on, and then once they got through to the end of the fight, then they kind of stopped and posed, and then like Soul Hackers 2 appeared on the ground. They like projected it down with lights, and then the gameplay trailer started running, and like the
Yeah.
outfit they had was the design of the main character.
Nice.
That's cool. Yeah. Hey, I mean, I don't know anything about this game, but it sounds cool that this is coming back after so long. Like, that's a win for fans, and like, maybe it'll get me into it. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like it's an SMT spinoff for sure. Like a lot of the
Right.
like familiar like, demon designs
Yeah,
and
yeah,
things
yeah,
like
yeah.
that are in there. Can't really tell a whole lot about the combat system, but it does look like there's a set like group of party members.
Do you have the platforms it was announced for?
It's coming to a lot of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But also Xbox.
it was on
Oh.
everything except for Switch.
Oh,
Yeah.
no Switch? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's on
which is
Xbox?
interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because it doesn't look like a game where
Graphically?
the Switch couldn't handle it.
That's
but,
weird. Yeah.
yeah.
That is weird.
They're just focusing on everything else.
Yeah. It's also good because how long do you have to wait between the mainline FCT games, mainline
the Persona
the
games?
Persona
Long
games, like
time.
their two biggest ones. There's definitely room to have.
Yeah.
I know maybe bring Soul Hackers back. It does well enough now. You have like another series that could continue
Help
on.
fill it. Yeah. And they're
you
working
know.
on that fantasy game. It's like Project Fantasy
Oh,
or something like
that
we heard about that like
seen
4
in
years
forever,
ago.
yeah.
We got like a piece of concept art.
I mean, they definitely have their other like smaller spin-offs, but this could potentially be another like
Yeah.
mainline
Cool.
kind
Yeah.
of like RPG
Fill it
series
in.
for them. Yeah. So if you're not bringing about like Digital Devil Saga or anything like that.
Yeah.
Any plans to bring those back?
And like I'm really surprised they haven't ported Persona 4 Golden on other platforms. Like it was
Right.
Vita
You'd think
and
you'd put
PC.
that on
They
everything,
put it on
yeah.
PC recently, but it's like, yeah, I'm really surprised it's not. They're putting Arena Ultimax though on everything. It's like
Well, I think the
cool, but why not Golden?
Yeah, Golden's a little bit weird. Why it hasn't appeared anywhere else? It makes you think about
Do tell.
you know if there's any like licensing. No, it's just strange that it hasn't.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
you'd
yeah.
have to assume it's like some kind of agreement or something potentially
Right.
that's holding it
Maybe,
back.
yeah.
But one of like the popular rumors going around is that Persona 3 is the next one up, getting like some kind
Oh.
of like remaster, not a remake, but like a remaster potentially coming to PC, Steam as well, and potentially
Okay.
other
I
platforms.
wonder what version they'll do.
Then yeah, the question is like, is it a hybrid? Where
I
it's
was
gonna
thinking,
take
like, it should be
FES and like
the
PES,
P3
yeah, because you got
combat.
FES and PES, and then the portable one, and then the console updated one, and then the PES is the only one that has the alternate protagonist in it as well, and other different
I
stuff.
think you control your party members actually in it.
There's like people like stuff about each of the ones, so like a combination
That'd be
potentially be the
smart.
best of both worlds for the best version. So that'd be kind of nice to see that.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I think there's be nice to have that, but also just makes you think of like, sorry, in a tangent, it was like also just thinking about like so many like of those portable PSP, PS Vita era games that like just keep bringing as many of those to PC as you can.
Please, just
Please, and those
let them live again.
yeah, because the recent news of like 3DS and Wii U shop shutting down, Vita,
Right.
like
Yeah.
PSP have long since it's like love to get ports of all those
I know.
games just
Yeah.
to keep them alive.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that last
Yeah,
week, and
yeah.
it's so hard to get those 3DS games over. The other things that really stood out to me with the trailer is again like just the Atlas like menu designs and stuff. Like that stuff just looks really great.
Oh yeah, they're all super
And then
well done.
the hideout they had this one screenshot they released because I only think they released 3 screenshots. There was one Jack Frost and there's another one I don't remember, but the one that really stood out to me was like they're at the base with like this feast. They're like all sitting around this huge table on couches, and there's pizza and there's salads and there's like miso soup and there's like ramen and it's just like all kinds of stuff. But then you can also see like one of their screens in the background, like one of their PCs, and it's just like I think there must be like 8 different monitors.
Yep.
So it's gonna be an interesting game. I think there's gonna be like a little bit more of a character focus like Persona, which I think
Sure,
is gonna
yeah. Help bring people in.
help bring people in compared to SMT5, which was a little bit more exploration and,
Yeah,
and mechanics
yeah.
based. Yeah.
Definitely.
Another thing that popped up this week, we got to see the PlayStation VR2, the actual
The headset.
hardware design for the first time. They were showing that off. They didn't have a whole lot of other details, but they just kind of talked about what went into the visual design, the ergonomic design of it. And yeah, so we're going to pull that up on the screen here a little bit. And yeah, so like what's some of your first reactions, your takeaways, just impressions?
It just looks like a cleaner version of the first PSVR to me. And the front doesn't look as bulky.
Right.
It has a more like round design, I guess, to actually go with the shape of the headset more instead of just like a weird block kind of. So hopefully it's not as heavy.
Yeah, they did say that they've reduced the weight some, but it's almost sound like they didn't do too much.
Yeah.
They mentioned that there's like a feedback motor.
That's interesting.
So
Rumble pack for your head.
yeah, rumble back on your face.
Those controllers just look sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they look much better
Looks
than
like-
the Move
looks like-
controllers.
Future looks like either like you're like piloting like a mech or
Yeah, definitely.
or something. Yeah, it just looks like the future, which is pretty inspiring
Yeah.
for design to see that. Also, they're going with the white color just like to match the PS5. So
Yeah. Well, they even said that they were designing the PS5 like in tandem with the VR2 in mind.
Interesting.
cool.
Well, the
But yeah,
first one was
so
white
if
too.
you're just listening, there's 4 little cameras like on the front, and then
those are cameras.
the controllers. They have like a full like circle where
Like
you
a-
basically put your hand into.
Yeah.
And then otherwise they kind of look like the Oculus Touch controllers, but there's an analog stick on each side, and there's L2 and R2 buttons on the triggers, and then they have each side has 2 of the face buttons. So you have like triangle on one side and circle and X on the other. Triangle and square on one side, circle and X on the other.
I saw people commenting on a feature that was announced on it. Starts with an I, like I or D or some kind of slider.
Oh, it's like the lens slider.
Yeah, they do have a lens
People were like
adjustment now,
saying
yeah.
like thumbs upping that a lot.
Yeah.
that was like a crucial thing they wanted in this version. So
Yeah, and the back strap looks pretty good also. I liked the default one on the first PSVR more than like some of the other headsets I used. So if this is just an improved version, that's pretty good right off the bat. And looks like it's just one cable now,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, I think you can still plug in the headphones, but I don't remember if you plug that in like further down the cable. I think there's like a little
They did say that it
doohickey
was
on there.
one USB-C when they announced it. It's
Yeah.
just one USB-C to the.
On the adjustable headset part, you could see the headphone little spots. That's like that weird triangle symbol on it. That's where I think the headphones go, if I remember correctly from the first one. Like there's
okay.
gonna be like little earbuds kind of thing like that. You can, I think they sit in there and you just pull them out, if I remember correctly.
isn't it having also another thing? Ventilation, so they don't
Yeah.
fog up, right? That's
Which
yeah,
is
just-
so cool.
You'd have to zoom in on the image, but you can actually see the vents like in the front of the headset. So yeah, so they're trying to keep the lenses
fog.
from fogging up.
That's pretty
Which is
cool.
a real thing.
Yeah, not that one. The other one in the one where you see the front. It's right above the cameras, basically. There's that vent. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. So I guess the obvious questions now everyone's asking is just like there's still no price, still no date.
Right.
So, and when are we gonna hear about this next? So I don't know if you're gonna ask this, but my question is for people who are enthusiastic about this, are you happy with this kind of how they're rolling out this information like this, or would you prefer they just kind of like came out and just had like a single kind of like announcement or
One
event,
thing?
like here it is, here's the price, here's the date. Like, do you think this is effective what they're doing?
I think that this works because I think it shows that they know that this is not their main audience, right? And so I think there's always this sort of reaction that you get with a direct or something when they do a state of play, and they're like, oh, here's the VR
VR,
games,
and
and then
everyone's-
people are just
yeah.
kind of like, all right, well, just wait.
Yeah, totally.
And so I think rather than like blowing it all out at once, like let's get you comfortable with the hardware. Let's show you the specs. Let's, now show you the design. And then, once they have games to show, then they'll do that separately.
Yeah, as you were saying that, it literally just like hit me like, well, that's what every piece of hardware does this, right? Like they show the physical
it
thing
out.
off and the logo or something, and then you get like price and date at and what it looks like games running on it. Which is my next question is, what do you think's like the first thing they're going to show off with this? You think you're gonna
Hopefully it's
Astro?
Astrobot.
Yeah,
I
like-
mean,
Yeah.
I guess the first thing they did was technically that Horizon game, but
Oh, really?
yeah, they showed I think a screenshot at least of it. Like we've seen it actually, but like someone playing it though.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like,
Right,
yeah, like when
yeah.
they finally
Hopefully
like,
it's
do their
Astrobot.
yeah.
Because that's coming 100%.
Yeah, I think Astrobot's an easy one to show on screen because you're looking at it like a character in third person. Whereas anything that's like more first person, it gets weird to watch somebody else in VR.
Yeah, VR is hard to show off on like a trailer or something like that. It's hard to get the point across, but
Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like this time around they are actually like, it feels competitive to me.
Yeah.
It feels like it's in step with what the other VR platforms are doing.
yes.
Whereas with the first VR, Like, it wasn't quite like Nintendo doing Labo with cardboard, which was ridiculous. But it was still like, we're going to use the Move controllers and the PlayStation
Exactly.
camera you already had. It just felt kind of tacked together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. This is like built from the ground up, everything specifically for VR, not just weird add-ons like a Frankenstein monster. And it just looks more in line with a modern VR headset, which is nice. Like, I don't expect it to be the most powerful thing, but I think it'll be pretty good when it comes out.
Sony's really attached to the numbering convention for their hardware iterations, aren't they?
And honestly, it keeps it simple.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Like
Yeah.
no crazy like
Yeah.
VR Plus or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, when you go to the store, you know exactly what you're
Yeah.
asking for. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wonder how much this is going to be out the box. I can't remember how much PSVR was when it came out. There was like a bundle that came with everything, but you don't need the
Right.
camera anymore,
Right.
which probably can cut down on some of the cost.
And, the unit itself is just,
$399 original,
Okay.
yeah. And that's the thing. The unit itself now is going to be
but you needed
just,
the $60 camera also.
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if this thing's going to be really hard to get, or because like PS5s are still hard to get, But I mean,
Yeah.
you already said this is like a smaller, audience that this is for, so it'll probably be in high demand.
It was kind of hard to
anyway.
get the first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why people are so
And now
anxious to
that
pre-order it.
yeah, VR is even bigger. But I wonder though, like it's like how much of the broader market versus the VR enthusiast market, because there's like people that are like just into VR, they're probably gonna like settle down and keep their Oculus or whatever.
Yeah. Their indexes.
But the Quest 2 and that kind of thing. But this is really targeting like the PlayStation fans.
I was gonna
Yeah.
ask. Sorry, I don't know this, but is this also gonna be able to run old PSVR games as well on it? Have they
think
clarified
so.
that yet or no?
They haven't said that I know of, but I would imagine that would be a very
Yeah, I
smart
don't
thing
see
to do.
why
Yeah,
it
that
shouldn't
would
be able to run
Be
them,
weird.
Yeah.
but hopefully.
That would be interesting if there's like anything there that just like needs a better frame rate or something
if
that
they
gets a
just
boost
patch
on
higher
PS5, yeah.
resolution, like even if it's just Astrobot, they're just like, hey, it's higher resolution now and
Mm-hmm.
just runs better. Like, sweet. It's like, I'm down for that. I wonder if it'll ever get RE4 VR.
Yeah,
That would be a big incentive for this.
would
I
be.
think.
I mean, they
Oh.
can make like a
deal.
village VR edition.
They should absolutely do that. They should have RE.
Man, that's why
Village
they weren't thinking
VR.
about DLC because they want to start working on a VR version. Like, oh wait, we got to make DLC too. Whoops.
Oh man.
Upgrade those textures in Resident Evil 7. And
Oh my god, if it's
Yeah,
a better
like,
version of 7, yeah.
That'll be like the next wave. Yeah, like remasters of VR games, like 4K 60 remaster or whatever. This will.
Yeah.
Did they give us the specs on what any of this will
they
run at? Sort of, or-
they gave specs on the earlier blog post.
I can't remember all of them though.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but
It's not.
I can get them if you want.
It's not terribly important. I was just like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I'm assuming it's not 4K 60 capable for a headset.
2000 by 2040 per eye. So
basically,
kind
yeah.
of 4K. It
Kinda.
offers 4K HDR, 110 degree field of view, OLED display,
That's nice.
2000 by 2040 per eye,
OLED.
etc.
Yeah, it sounds
And then
pretty
does
good.
did you say the refresh rate too? Does it say that?
90 hertz and it lists 90 and 120. So
Oh wow.
There, yeah.
Okay. Well.
Pretty
there you
beefy
go.
then.
So maybe those older games could get some nice bumps.
Yeah.
For this for the VR2.
Yeah, hopefully it'd be nice. There's already a pretty decent catalog on there, so if there's backwards compatible. That'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would definitely work in their favor because that's the thing. It's like you're going to invest probably $200 to $300 for this.
Yeah.
Then to say that, hey, you'll be able to, have access to a couple hundred games as well. And, potentially some of those games could be free, kind of like how they did the PS4
Right.
collection when they,
The
put out
PS
the
Plus
PS5.
collection, yeah. Yeah, it makes me wonder like what other first party kind of IPs we'll see on this thing. Like I think that's smart actually putting Horizon IP on here or something like that. Like I think Killzone will come back one day. I don't know if it's necessarily VR, but that could work really well. Like FPSs are good in VR. Maybe Resistance? I doubt it, but maybe.
Was that one early PSVR game like Riggs or something like that? Do you remember?
That was
Was it a
Gorilla.
mech game?
That was Gorilla, yeah. Oh, and who did Blood and Truth? I can't remember who did that.
I
but-
think it might have been London.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm curious. I wonder if Gran Turismo or something will get an update for it too.
I would think so because they did
Sport
it for
had
Sport.
it. Yeah, that'd be cool. Sounds promising, but still definitely got to find out the price. And it makes me more confident that it'll actually come out this year. I didn't expect to see the hardware actually so soon.
Right.
If it's next year, so maybe they're planning for this year.
Yeah, I could see at E3 them like really giving it a big
Doing
push
something,
and
yeah.
saying that's okay. October 13th, here it is.
Dang, yeah.
The little spaceship controllers are funny because the circle goes around the wrist,
Yeah.
sort of. So it's like not actually like a sensor like the Oculus where you can do finger
Right.
motions.
I don't think it'll do that.
Yeah. There's a spaceship from sci-fi that this looks exactly like, and I'm trying to...
Yeah, I am
Trying to
curious
remember.
if they actually have anything like that going on,
I wonder.
but we will find out.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing we'll find out about, Dragon Age got an update.
Yeah.
In the middle of full production, a blog post from BioWare's Gary McKay, which was mostly Dragon Age focused, but touched on some other things too. They, gave a shout out to Old Republic team and all of that. He explained kind of like the different phases of production, kind of like just how the sausage is made kind of thing. So they're past the concept and pre-production phases when they worked out all the conceptual and prototyping and all that kind of thing, and got their foundations sorted out. It was like, okay, how is this game going to work? What are our systems going to be like? And so now they're building environments, they're creating characters, they're writing a story, and really just like fleshing out what that game's going to be like. Three people that they noted as being leads on the team. Production director is Mac Walters, who was on Mass Effect Legendary Edition. The game director is Corinne Bush, who's been at EA for 15 years. The director of production development was Benoit Houle, who's been on every Dragon Age title. So that's good to have that experience there. And they also touched on that Mass Effect is currently in the earlier
Yes,
prototyping
they
phase.
showed
so,
that picture or whatever a while
Yeah,
ago.
so
It's
they're,
like, all
they're
right.
not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what do you think about talking about Dragon Age at this point when they still don't have a lot to show for it?
I was kind of surprised when they showed this. I thought this game would be further along because we've known about this game for a while. And then they're just like, yeah, we're still like, we still got years to go. It's like, it's great to have the honesty and have like a clearer idea of where they're at, but it's like, ooh, this ain't going well. Like, you haven't had a string of hits in a while. I mean, Anthem died right out the gate, and Andromeda was not good when it came out, so I hope you nail it with this one. You really need that win.
Yeah, I'm very curious because I don't have obviously the experience, and I don't know if we get that much insight in a lot of like behind the scenes looks at these games and these projects. And if this is an unfair comparison, I apologize. But when you see something like this, we've known for so long, and like they're still like we just got past like the prototyping phase. We have like our concept, we're ready to move into actual production now, and how many years it's been since we've known about this project versus something like we see this time and time again. But then we see something like even like something as ambitious as Horizon. 5 years later, here's a sequel, and like Dragon Age doesn't come out from like announcement to whatever in 5 years. It's like, if it doesn't seem more ambitious, it's like, well, what was the
Right.
difficulties?
What's taking so long?
Well, it's always curious to see like what it is. Is it just teams are smaller, less experience, or like it's? I'm always curious because like why does one game that seems like massive scale take only this many years to come out versus something like this where this is like what the fourth? I know it's supposedly 4, but how many have there actually been in
Dragon Age games?
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's
this is
the fourth.
yeah.
Four.
Yeah.
It's like they have those experience for like why is that taking so long versus Horizon?
Right.
So only had one entry, now they're on their sequel, and like I know there's a bunch of theories, but like I'd like to actually have an answer sometime just to like know. It's like because all you can do is speculate, and
Because Inquisition was what, 2015?
Oh, was it 2015? Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. Damn.
It's been
I was curious, and I just looked up staff sizes for Guerrilla Studios, that's Horizon, right?
yeah.
And BioWare. Do you want to guess? How many?
For each studio?
Yeah.
Well,
They're close. They're similar.
It's like 330.
Very good. Yeah, BioWare 320, Guerrilla 360.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
But that's for the full studio?
that's for the full studio. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like,
Yeah.
So BioWare split up more.
Split up.
yeah.
Guerrilla's also got other projects happening.
Yeah,
but-
definitely.
Cursory Googling. And also the Guerrilla numbers from 2021 and the BioWare's from 2019. So who knows?
Oh, okay.
But yeah, but also I have to also, for me, even though I don't think I've ever played any of the Dragon Age games, I still understand that this series, it needs to have a good showing when it finally is fully unveiled.
Yeah.
Plus, as you pointed out, BioWare kind of needs a big win with a new entry. Like, yes, Mass Effect Trilogy went over well, but like that's just taking the older games. Like, you need to make a new product that people are going to get excited about, and it needs to actually nail the execution. So that could be another reason why they're taking longer, is because
Hopefully.
they're second guessing, or they're being a little bit more, tougher on themselves. Like, hey, this won't fly this time. We need to do a better job.
Because one of the things that came out of all the Anthem mess is, that it sounded like the way that past BioWare games had been made. There was just like, they get to the end and they have this mad scramble, and there's just this BioWare magic, that happens while they're in the last phases of crunch, and like it didn't happen with Anthem.
Yeah, and like I don't know what engine they're using. I know Frostbite gave them a ton of trouble.
Frostbite has
for
not
their games.
been doing anyone very well.
So-
It sounds like it was even giving problems to the Battlefield team for 2042.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's your engine, guys. What do you
Yeah.
mean now? You're complaining about Frostbite.
Yeah, I mean, it's concerning to me, this whole thing going on, especially their track record recently. And, like, to me, BioWare doesn't mean that much anymore. It doesn't mean anything special to me anymore. Like when I played Dragon Age 1 for the first time, when it was super awesome,
Right.
but it's like, I don't know.
think Legendary Edition was really
I haven't
well
played
received,
it, granted,
though.
but it
Yeah.
is old games.
Right.
It's not a
Yeah.
new game.
Yeah.
It's like their past work. But I mean, I'm hoping for the best of this game. I want it to be great. I want the stew to be good again. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a rough road.
The one thing they did say, though, they were saying they were in the middle of production. So they didn't really give a clear,
Yeah,
like, how long ago
how long it's
like
gonna
the
be.
conceptual and prototype phases were. So it's still, in a way, it's like, okay, it's an update, but it doesn't really give you a lot of clarity for
yeah.
It's
when they'll actually get to alpha or
such
anything.
a good,
yeah.
that's such a good point, because internally, they know more. Like,
Of
they
course,
have
yeah.
dates and stuff, but like never share it. And it's always funny, like, because like people have those, again, love to be a fly on the wall in some of this to like know answers, because like it's like every company. It was a small thing, but it was incredibly nice to have it confirmed with Nintendo Advance Wars when the April 8th date went up early. Before they had said, they even told, after that date went up on their website, they told investors, "Oh, spring," and like they kept saying spring, and it's like, well, internally they've known about a specific date for quite a while now. So like they've got all these companies, they have dates and stuff. So it's like when they're giving you a window and stuff, it's like, there's a specific reason why they're only publicly saying that versus their internal kind of like roadmaps they have. And it's always like, would be awesome to see, like, why they like sometimes say that, because like, are they just not confident, or is it like something to do with like they don't want to like alarm investors, or
Well,
like
what's-
Probably both.
what is like the motive? Yeah,
What's fascinating to me is the disconnect, because I have a few friends who are developers, whatever, and like, and the news recently came out talking about the Cyberpunk updates, where it's like
Right.
the developers or the game developers working at the companies, oftentimes when they hear the release date, they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like, we are nowhere near hitting that. And like, I've had friends who worked on games, and like when they learned the release date along with the public, and like the employees are just like, huh? So it's like, who's making that decision?
It's-
They're certainly not like talking
Right.
to the people making the games always. It's crazy.
that makes me think it's like that's the higher ups.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
they're
yeah.
making such, because this, you'll love, this one very well, Brad, when Nomura like didn't know he was directing it's like, yeah, we're making Final Fantasy remake. Oh, Nomura's directing. You're like, wait, what?
He's like, what?
Wait a second. Who told me? Like, that's just it. Like, it's probably like the high, like whoever's in charge of all that just says like, yeah, we're in the middle of production on this game, so like they think it's this far. We're development. This sounds like it's actually the development team. Like, no, this is where we are, and we're the people actually on the ground working on this game. So that's why I like stuff like development blog posts, like any of those kind of like behind the scenes things
Right.
that are less marketing, PR, even like high level kind of speak down to you, the consumer, versus like, no, we're being transparent. We want you to know, which is, I think, what BioWare needs more of in this process is just being very transparent.
Right.
And, showing off their work and discussing where they are, because as you said, they need to kind of build back a little bit of that trust, because they kind of need to have a win with one of these new releases.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's good because, like you said, they announced this game forever ago. And it's been so long since the last Dragon Age, and it's actually been quite a long time since even Anthem, and Mass Effect Andromeda. So they kind of need to let people know what's going on. It also sounds like EA may not have a summer event this year. There's been some rumblings about that they just might skip this summer and not try to do a showcase, which, based on past EA showcases, is probably a good call.
Yeah, the only thing I could see them showing is maybe like a Star Wars game.
Yeah,
Fallen Order,
sure
Jedi,
but
Star
they
Wars
might
Jedi, whatever.
throw that into something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It doesn't need its own event for that.
Yeah. I mean, they were also pretty late last year anyway with their summer thing. They were towards the end, and
Yeah, they're like in August or something.
we
yeah.
always criticize them for not having stuff to show off when they do these, and it felt like maybe they're doing this out of obligation. So
Right.
if they really don't have anything to show off, then don't
bother.
Don't do an event. I mean, last year was pretty much the poster child for companies pretty much just showed up just to say we were here, and like how many of those were terrible presentations? Like last E3, like Capcom, why'd you even bother? Square Enix, most of it, why'd you bother? It's like
Gearbox.
it's like if it's like did the ESA like really like put you to this because like you had to we need to show that we're still around, but it was so worthless.
Yeah,
in the
it
end.
was. It was worthless.
And now, a word from our sponsors. Whether it's saving more and spending less, getting organized, or losing weight, there's a lot of worthwhile goals to set for yourself this year. One on my list is learning a new language with Babbel, the language learning app that sold more than 10 million subscriptions. Not only is learning a new language fun and an engaging hobby, you can use it while you check off traveling more from your list. The whole Babbel process is addictively fun and easy. Babbel teaches bite-sized language lessons for real-world use. I am writing a book. I, Brandon Jones, from the Easy Allies podcast, I'm writing a book. And there are people in this book that speak other languages. And it is fascinating because obviously it's very rewarding to go in and just kind of tackle an entire language on its own. But it's also very rewarding just to kind of get a sense of the way a language sounds in conversation. Because it's one thing to understand, how normal people should talk in a particular language, but that's always very clinical. What really helps is what's the flavor of this country? What are the people speaking this language like? What are, maybe some slang that they use? What is it like to speak to someone when I travel to this place? There's so many different things about Babbel that do that. Babbel's 15-minute lessons make it the perfect way to learn a new language on the go. Other language learning apps use AI for their lesson plans, but Babbel lessons were created by over 100 language experts. Their teaching method has been scientifically proven to be effective. With Babbel, you can choose from 14 different languages, including Spanish, which I am currently relearning. I finished Spanish 3 in high school, and I'm getting back to it. French, Italian, and German, plus Babbel's speech recognition technology helps you to improve your pronunciation and accent. There are so many ways to learn with Babbel. In addition to lessons, you can access podcasts, games, videos, stories, and even live classes. Plus, it comes with a 20-day money-back guarantee. Start your new language learning journey today with Babbel. Right now, when you purchase a 3-month Babbel subscription, you get an additional 3 months for free. That's 6 months for the price of 3. Just go to Babbel.com and use promo code ALLIES. That's BABBEL.com, code ALLIES. Babbel, language for life. Relationships take work. A lot of us will drop anything to go help someone we care about. We'll go out of our way to treat other people well. But how often do we give ourselves the same treatment? I need some help right now, most certainly. My name is Brandon Jones. I'm going through some emotional turmoil. No need to get into it. But boy, I tell you, therapy has helped me a lot in what I am currently going through. I'm going through a lot of scary things in my family, and that has made me sad and also kind of tested a lot of the relationships that I would maybe typically go to for support. No question, not only has therapy helped me, therapy has helped me really more than anything else. Therapy has given me tools so I can navigate that scary stuff, and I feel all the better for it. I feel proud of myself, I feel capable, and I'm telling you, it's all because of therapy. This month, BetterHelp Online Therapy wants to remind you to take care of the most important relationship, the one you have with yourself, just like the one Jonesy has with Jones. Whether it's hitting the gym, making time for your haircut, or even trying therapy. I got a haircut this week. It felt so good. I did. I made time for my haircut, and I got a haircut. Thank you, BetterHelp. Or even trying therapy. You are your greatest asset, so invest the time and effort into yourself like you do for other people. BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Give it a try and see why over 2 million people have used BetterHelp online therapy. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Easy Allies listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/allies. That's BetterHelp.com/allies. If saving more and spending less is one of your top goals for 2022, why are you still paying insane amounts of money every month for wireless? Switch to Mint Mobile. Switching to Mint Mobile is the easiest way to save this year. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you maximize your savings with plans starting at just $15 a month. Obviously, saving money on mobile is good. $15 a month is good. Me, personally, on the Easy Allies podcast, I'm always looking for time. I'm always looking to see how long it takes to check in with these sponsors, how easy it is to go to their websites, how easy it is to access their stuff. Not only is obviously Mint Mobile all online because it is all online, because everything is handled there, online only, it is very, very easy to use. I appreciate that login process. I always go to check this stuff out, and if something takes a little bit longer, that is not something that I feel comfortable saying to listeners and viewers of this podcast. For people looking for extra savings this year, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. By going online only and eliminating the traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes significant savings onto you. All plans come with unlimited talk and text, plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. With Mint Mobile, choose the amount of monthly data that's right for you and stop paying for data that you never use. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/allies. That's mintmobile.com/allies. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/allies. And if you are a patron of Easy Allies, thank you.
Square Enix had some financial reports come out this week. MMOs getting a lot of revenue there.
Oh, yeah.
Surprise,
some
surprise.
boost there.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 11.
Yeah, baby. It's still 20th anniversary this year, dude. Let's go.
But one of the things that came out in almost like typical Square Enix West fashion,
Oh, here we go.
Guardians of the Galaxy undershot their initial sales expectations for launch. There is a little silver lining, though, because they're saying that sales initiatives that started in November saw growth. They're going to keep pushing it and promoting the game and try to make up. But, obviously there are a lot of things that probably went behind this. There's a lot of people that were burned by Avengers. There are a lot of people that were weirded out by the character designs and didn't feel attached to them right away. Like, I feel like you had to play the game to start getting attached to those characters.
Yeah, and the debut wasn't great for the game.
Right.
No one was sold on it when it came out. No one was sold on this game until people played it and started talking about it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. When they talk about those sales initiatives in November, well, it's not just that. It's that people started playing the game and they're like, this is my favorite game of the year.
Yeah, and it's absolutely the Avengers, the after effect of Avengers. Like, when I heard about this game, I was like, oh, God, it's another one. But it's like, oh, it's actually really good. So, yeah, that had a huge effect on it.
Also, this is just so mind-boggling because I feel like just a few short months ago, Square Enix was praising Guardians of the Galaxy's performance. Like, there was something that came out in the last 3 months where they were like saying something about like their quarterly report bolstered by like all the things you're probably we're gonna say in that report, plus strong start of Guardians of the Galaxy. I swear they said that. So at one point they were happy about it where it was, and now it's like, nah, actually it didn't hit its milestone. So it's
you
like,
know what?
it's like, what is
They
this?
saw Miles Morales sales and we're like, what? We're Marvel too, though. Why aren't we hitting those numbers?
I mean,
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that's always frustrating. Is they don't really they don't specify what those expectations were.
Exactly.
So-
Like, I hear every Western
Whoa.
Square Enix game this happens.
Right.
Though.
they probably don't say anymore because we used to know what their expectations were for like Tomb Raider and Deus Ex, and then we all called them crazy for having those. Like, why are you setting unrealistic expectations? Like, these games sold a few million copies, but that's not good enough
enough for them?
apparently because
Right.
you went overboard with the marketing budgets. It's like, well, that's kind of your your fault there. But they're like, no, if we pump enough into marketing, it should sell this much. Like they think it's an equation. It's like, maybe someone's telling you that, but it doesn't always work out that way. Like ask the movie industry.
Well, it's
never consistent.
They complain about, I think, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and that was on Xbox only. It wasn't on PlayStation when it launched. So it's like, what do you expect?
Yeah, console exclusive for over a year or whatever. It's like, it didn't sell as well. It's like, well, come on.
If you're expecting this to sell as much as Final Fantasy, it's like, sorry, that's not going to happen.
I just don't know. I just don't know how well Square Enix is leveraging their Western studios, because it almost feels like it'd be better just to spin them off and let them have their own autonomy, and they might just do better on their own rather than having to like follow Square Enix's like upper management's projections and plans for them. Because
I almost wonder if it's the opposite though, because I feel like there's like two different groups running things, and I think that's where like a lot of this disconnect comes from. That like there's the Square Enix, European and Western, side of management, and they make all these decisions that don't seem to feel like they match up with what Square Enix Japan is doing.
Yeah, so I'm arguing that they should be their own thing, and like Square Enix just like diverge of them so that the West.
I just think that those are the guys creating the problem.
Oh, you think they're creating a problem?
They're the ones that come in
I thought
and like
the disconnect
inject
was
like
causing
these weird, things with like Deus Ex. Like the last Deus Ex game was like basically sabotaged by management. Like they came in there and like had the freaking like pay for experience points and the bad pre-order things, like all this stuff that just like burned the game before it came out. And it feels like Guardians of the Galaxy, like the same team, the same writers, and they're having to experience it all over again. But I actually almost feel like maybe like upper management is seeing, like, hey, this is really good. It got a lot of good critic praises. The soundtrack is getting awards left and right. The writing's getting awards left and right. The animation is superb. So I think that this time around, it's almost like somebody is like looking and saying, like, hey, they're actually doing good work
stuff,
over there.
yeah.
We need to push it harder than we were.
For whatever reason, I was under person, like for like Avengers specifically, that was like the Japanese side calling, you need to make this a game as a service, and the Western side of like, okay, you're making us, but that's not what it needs to be, and like ended up being that way. So I don't know if that just like trickled down, because I mean, I'm not familiar enough with how much those two sides can clash with each other. But the reason I was like getting at potentially that might be better for them, because I mean, it might just been unique to their company, was IO Interactive, when they were able to finally spin off from them. Like, they're doing fine with Hitman 3.
Yeah,
and they're doing just great. But I mean, that's been their bread and butter, has been Hitman. Whereas I don't know how like
Could you imagine if they were still there and they were making some weird Marvel game?
Oh no, no, they'd be making like a Hawkeye stealth game or something right now. Would be what they'd be doing.
It's like, you just gotta get these studios to make games that they know how to make and are good at making. Like, I don't remember do you know the team name that made Avengers?
That's Crystal Dynamics. It's a Tomb Raider team.
Yeah, it's like they've never made like a live service multiplayer game before, and it's like you're dumping like one of the biggest IPs on them in the world, and probably setting these crazy expectations. And like, the campaign in Avengers was fun, and I had fun going through it, but it's like the multiplayer and the live service stuff is like, I didn't care about any of that. It's like, let the teams make what they're good at making, actually.
Yeah, there have been some questionable decisions. Again, this is why I keep citing like maybe it's some part of the higher ups in the Japanese side, because it's not just the Western studios that like have been effective, like with Avengers. Babylon's Fall mandating it need to have like service in it as well. It's like, why? You got platinum in your pocket for a game, and you're doing this with it? Like,
it's like
no one wants this.
You got live service games. You got like the biggest, a huge MMO making you tons of money. You got mobile games. It's like, how many do you actually need?
They're just they're on the live service like gravy train right now.
Yeah,
I think everything. Crazy. They feel like they need to have some element of it in all their games, but as it's shown, like it doesn't really need to. And like it's not a smart decision. So. Yeah, I don't know. I do feel bad for Guardians of the Galaxy, because, as you said, like, was not really like, it was a good game. It was not their fault. The development team did everything they could. It was just like questionable marketing leading up to its release, word of mouth, and actually media kind of salvaged that image for them and turned it around a little bit. And it's like they they could have turned around and still could probably capitalize on it. But like there is still a path forward with Marvel properties at Square Enix that they want. Like look at Guardians, what it's done right. Look at what Avengers did wrong, and maybe if you want to try another third one, just figure out a better plan of attack up front because you really botched it with Guardians. If you can get that lead up to be solid, plus a solid game, I think they have something that could be like potentially like a Spider-Man Miles Morales level of success. Maybe not as big, but more in that direction, which would hit these crazy expectations Square Enix has for these games or these milestones.
I mean,
I do wonder too, because we talked about how bad that the E3 presentation Square Enix did, and Guardians was part of that, but like that whole thing was kind of a mess. And I wonder if it's just one of these things where they haven't figured out how to adapt to that kind of presentation and like speaking directly to players as well. Like 14's got that down.
Yeah.
But the rest of the company doesn't seem to. And I feel like if we had actually had a proper E3 and everyone had gone in and the first thing that you knew about Guardians of the Galaxy was gameplay impressions, and people have gotten like, if we got some solid like 45-minute demos of that game.
Yeah.
And then everyone would have been excited right out the gate.
Different narratives being set up if that was a
because nobody played that game until the previews for like 3 or 4 weeks before the game came out.
That hurt it for sure. Because especially if the presentation would have been before, so like, all right, not a great presentation, but like the next day, as you said, like impressions start rolling out rather than waiting how many months till the preview event, like really could have helped them a lot. But as you said, like they're like a handful, maybe not even a handful, at least one person at Square Enix who knows how to like do this correctly, but they can't be at every place every time. They're already working on 14 and Final Fantasy 16 and other projects. Like can't have Naoki Yoshida on everything over that company. So they really, I don't know what they need to do over there, but they have to like start grooming more of their younger talent to like take over these projects and. Something's got to be done about with the like whatever trouble the Western studios have been falling into, like whatever's been causing that rift or whatever. They either need to figure out a plan of attack to like repair that and fix that, or I don't know. Like I just don't know why they stay part of. Like it seems like I don't know. What's it? Oil and water? Like they're not mixing. Maybe it's better you go your separate ways. I don't know. Like there are other Western studios to maybe collaborate with Square Enix, but I don't know. It just feels like all these high-profile releases from them have been set up to kind of like fail, but they look awesome. Like like Deus Ex, like everyone wants like another one. Like there are people really big fans of people.
Well, that was part of what they screwed up with Deus Ex, though, because like it was supposed to be Mankind Divided was supposed to be a bigger game. Yeah. And they're like, no, we're gonna try to milk this. We're gonna cut it up and like put and so then people get to the end of Mankind Divided and it's like, that's it. And but it like set up what was going to be the rest of the game was going to be a sequel, and then like, oh, it didn't perform to expectations, so we're cutting all of that off and you're switching gears.
Yeah, bad management.
They're just strong IPs. They could easily keep going, and like it's someone over there is just like mishandling it, and they need to figure it out.
It took them a long time to figure out like adjusting the Final Fantasy IP itself with like the whole 13 going on. That whole area, like Square Enix, and that whole area was like
that's a good point, Brad.
Dark times.
Yeah, it's a good point. I wonder if just in general, like for a while now, Square Enix just has like a sort of like management problems, like game manager problems, where these projects, because you're fair, it's not quite fair to just keep like picking on like Eidos and the Western studios, but it's like Final Fantasy 15 had a really troubled development cycle as well, and that was like one of their flagship things that they were focusing on. They like how long did it take for
just to get their engine going or whatever. It's
even internally, like the history of their engines is a whole other thing. Where like you were even saying like with BioWare and EA with Frostbite, it's like Square Enix has their own history of like their developers being really frustrated. I mean, frickin' Nomura wanted that Warp Strike thing, and like the Crystal Tools couldn't handle that. So it's like we need a new engine for you to make your dream a reality. And it's like, it's not going to run on this hardware, bud. But like, as you saw, once they moved to like Unreal and other engines, games
Kingdom
start
Hearts
coming
3
out.
and
Final Fantasy 7 remake to start coming out.
And
It's like
I think 16's probably on that too.
it's on
Luminous?
Luminous.
Oh, okay. Well, it's like
no, it's on the modified version of what 14 runs on.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're working with stuff and it's proven to work at least. So
Yeah.
That's a good decision. Yes.
Yeah.
Like just give Epic their cut. Just take the cut.
Related to that, Damiani, you watched Final Fantasy XIV's 10-year plan.
Yeah.
So I caught that there's some stuff that they're tweaking to make it easier to solo, and I saw there's going to be some graphic updates.
Pretty much
But none of that speaks to 10-year plan to me. What is,
Okay, so
what is this?
so that's pretty much the gist of it, and they wanted to make it clear at the beginning, like, this isn't probably going to be as big as you think it is. Like, people are, like, jumping to really big conclusions about, like, major changes to the game, and they're like, it's basically going to be incremental, because even like they talked about like the graphical overhaul, it's not just happening at one point in time. Like in a year now, they're like, we're going to drop a new graphics engine. Like they said, like that'd be too much work. It would overwhelm the developers. Plus, like it could crash the game and cause all kinds of things. So they're doing it pretty much piecemeal for all these changes they're doing. It's going to be rolled out over they outlined basically the next 2 years roughly of changes.
Okay.
And they're like, this is just the first step in a bunch of steps over the next 10 years that we're going to be doing to improve the game. So these are long-term investments we're making. And I think the easiest one to understand probably for people who even play the game is the graphical one, is that like they're basically going to improve all the textures and lighting in the game for pretty much all environments, all backgrounds, all characters, but they can't do it all at once. So they're going to like start doing it in phases, starting with an upcoming patch. And
so is it like zones, or is it like different layers of the environment? Or?
So for zones, the easiest one to give for zones is twofold. One, they showed an indoor a screenshot of an indoor area from one of the new regions of the game in Endwalker, and they showed its current lighting setup, and it's kind of like a little bit more flat looking with only like one real light source. Then they showed what they've only been working on it for like about a month or a little bit more than a month, and they showed what their work has, the fruits of their labor so far, and they show multiple lighting sources. And like it like just adds more depth, more like atmosphere. It feels a little bit more like it looks better, but it's just through the power of lighting, like how much lighting can improve the visual aesthetic of your game. And they're going to be, and then like outdoor areas, okay, well, not lighting. So one of the things that's kind of a detriment to the game right now is like the texture work on like the grass in the ground in a lot of the areas. And they showed like one of their new grass algorithms they're doing. So like individual blades of grass will now be like generated. So it looks more like lush and not these low, like kind of like PS2 era looking like textures.
Right.
It looks more like something like first gen PS4. The game, to put it mildly, it looked like a mid to high end PS3 game before, and now it looks like something that'd probably be like a mid tier PS4 game is where it's at, and it's through lighting and improved textures and character. The most stark thing was the character faces, because they're like one of the big challenges is how do we update your characters, your created characters, without really radically changing the tone of them. And the first thing they showed off,
because I had this actually happened to me. We were talking about Mass Effect Andromeda earlier. And so when that game came out, and actually I played it before it came out, like the character creator, like it was just awful. It was so hard to try to make something that you liked. And I finally got there, and I got a character that I really enjoyed. But there were still weird things that they had with like the eyes and all of that. And then that was a big criticism they got. So it was one of the first things that they kind of like got around to updating. And it was weird because it's like, well, now I had a character that I liked, and now my character kind of looks weird. So yeah, I totally see
that's what they want to avoid. And they know that a lot of players are invested in their character look. So they're going for something that's not photorealistic. They showed it first example, but then they quickly put a red X over it saying we're not going for it because it looked like a RE engine face. Like it was like a close-up shot of face with pores and like super detailed with scars. And it's like, oh, wow, that's really impressive. And they're like, no, not this. And all it really is, it's just adding more lighting. So like the faces don't look so flat. They look like dolls right now.
Yeah.
Now they don't look like that. There's a little bit more texture to the face. The eyes kind of right now look lifeless. Now they have like a little bit more gloss, like a little bit more reflection in the iris and the lens. And it looks a little bit better. And like the hair is just like a slightly improved texture now. It's like not as like like the aliasing is cleaned up around like the hairline basically on your forehead, so it's like not so rigid. It looks a little bit more natural, and it's like it looks like just a nice graphical bump in general for that. And again, this will come out in phases. So they said like NPCs, even NPCs, all the NPCs in the game eventually going to get this new look, but they're like, we can't do it all at once, so please be patient with us, because in a certain patch, some of the characters might be changed, but in another zone, they might not yet. So you're going to have that little awkwardness for a little while. But over leading into like 7.0, they want to get most of this done. And then they'll have greater ambitions down the line, which I haven't talked about yet. So that's like the graphical part of it pretty much. And as they said, like, we want player feedback. We're going to give you examples. We're going to be very transparent with you. And some of these, like one of them they showed was this indoor boss fight where it's got this stained glass around you and light comes in, and like all they did is add like a bunch of red light sources to show how dynamic the lighting can change it. But it completely changes the atmosphere of the fight, because it felt like a dark room with this like lights coming only through like the stained glass on the edges. And they noticed a lot of comments like, wow, that kind of changes the tone of fight. And they're like, well, that's not the finished product. We just wanted to show you how dynamic we can get. So they want to have that two-way conversation to make sure
that's important.
Players are happy. But they also reiterated, Brad, that they like, we've been making this game for 10 years and we've been very open with the community. We like to believe we understand what you guys want, which is what they did with the character faces. Judging by the reactions from the player base, we were reaffirmed that we were going in the right direction with this.
Yeah, I think they are going the right direction. I think it's smart to slowly roll these things out over time instead of one giant thing. And yeah, just being super honest about it is, everyone loves that. And people are much more understanding if you're completely honest with them. Even if they don't agree with you or they get upset, they at least understand where you're coming from. So, yes, this is Square Enix doing it correctly.
The other part of it, Blood, we mentioned, was the trust or the solo experience for the game. This has been like a big point of contention. And essentially, it's also going to be done piecemeal as well, starting with the earliest content and working to the more, well, everything through Shadowbringers onward has already been handled with this, but through Stormblood, the third expansion, second expansion, but third of the things they're doing, A Realm Reborn, Heaven's Ward, Stormblood are the three they're going to be doing this for. All of the main story dungeons, which are 4-person dungeons, will have the trust system added to it eventually. So they're going to start with A Realm Reborn. That way you can do any of the required dungeons with NPCs, essentially, like the trust. And by the next expansion, all of those should be handled. There's also 4-player trials, which kind of like boss fights. There's only a few of them.
Okay.
You'll be able to do those as well with NPCs instead of other players if you prefer. And then the biggest one was at the end of A Realm Reborn, there are these 3 8-person instances that you have to do. One of them is kind of sad that it'll be interesting to change. The other 2 are kind of like a nightmare, to put it nicely, because they have all these special requirements. Like, you can't skip the cutscenes. They're a pain in the butt.
The final elevator one?
The final 2 dungeons of the game, they're going to be reworked. The final 2 dungeons are becoming 4-person dungeons instead of 8, which means because they're 4, you can do them with NPCs as well. And then one of the final fights, 2 of the final fights are 8-person fights. They're going to be reworked as solo instances because they're kind of a pushover right now.
Yeah, they are.
Because it's so old and everything's been nerfed into the ground that they're kind of a meme.
It's like a formality.
One of them is called Cape Westwind, and it's a joke right now with the surge of new players to throw down all these markers and make it look like it's a super hard fight before you begin the fight, and you scare the crap out of newbies, and 30 seconds later the boss is insta-dead because it does nothing, and you're like, players will be like, oh my god, you scared the heck out of me. I was like, they're changing it to be a solo instance, and that way they can make it more of a cinematic, I imagine a more cinematic fight with a little bit more involvement, and make it a bit of more of a spectacle. Because now, like, even if you're a new player doing it with other new players, it's such a pushover, and it's lost its oomph. So they're going back and reevaluating old content to update it essentially. And this is on top of like over a year ago, when they already kind of further streamlined the Realm
did
of Born.
speed up stuff.
Yeah, this is something they're going to be doing more and more of over the next 10 years is reevaluating old content and how to further improve it or streamline it or change it to make the experience a little bit better for new players.
I think a lot of this is good too because, a lot of this is required story stuff. And the older this stuff becomes, maybe you're going to have more trouble finding actual players to do it with. So, like, I always, like, feared at this point of if I was catching up in this game and there's a story thing I have to do that requires other players and I'd have to wait an hour or something like that just to try to find someone to do it with. But if this helps alleviate that, I think that's great.
Yeah. I mean, there's also people who this is just, they're very smart because they keep labeling as main scenario content.
Yes.
Which is story content. And they understand, they've said like there's a significant amount of Final Fantasy fans, they're Square Enix, they make the game, they know their market. They're like, that really don't want to play an MMO or play with other players in a Final Fantasy game, but they keep hearing how good the story is.
Right.
So how do we alleviate that? And this is a step, like all the required content to enjoy the story no longer requires you to actually pair up with other human characters.
Because the idea of an MMO scares a lot of players off, like you said. And it's like these are such great Final Fantasy things. It's a shame if someone doesn't play it because it's an MMO.
Yeah. Now, the last thing, Blood, about this is there is some 8-player content, starting with the post patches after Realm Reborn. Some of the boss fights require 8 people, and they are required story content. That's something they're going to try to tackle in the next phase. So once the launch of the next expansion happens, that's a project they want to start in the next expansion, because while they pointed out in Endwalker, they had an 8-person NPC trial you can do, and I thought it worked out brilliantly. I think
awesome.
They said that took a lot of resources and time to get that AI down correctly for 7 other NPC characters to play real-time mechanics correctly and not like frustrate you. And there's a bunch of those that exist right now in older content, so they want to do it. They're just like, we need a little bit more time to do that. It's not happening just yet, but they would like to work that out because it is required content. But I mean, it also could be they rework them to be 4-person content as well to make it a little bit easier. So that's what they mean by 10 years. Is there's a stuff right now that they've identified that they could do within the next 2 years. There's stuff they've identified that are going to be year 3 and beyond.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is all this stuff being received pretty well, or is there like a lot of pushback on anything?
So far, it seems received pretty well because they're saying like nothing's like final yet, and at least for like the graphical stuff. So people are keeping their minds pretty open, and they just want to see where it goes from here. The solo stuff, I think no one objects to, and so a lot of these changes are definitely for the better, and people have been asking for these for a long time.
Cool.
So that's really good. And then they even give a roadmap. They specifically point out which patches going through this current expansion these updates will happen in, as well as like on top of new content they're adding to the game. That was like the last thing they did, is they want to talk about like new content being added in patches on top of like the usual content, because the last big complaint about the game is with this big budget supposedly, why are they like... Sometimes it feels like they're not adding as much content as they used to in the past. And they kind of showed the next few patches, and it's like, oh, here's all the usual stuff. And then there's like this big stuff. Like there's one of the big ones is a new type of dungeon called Criterion Dungeons that they're introducing, which can be played with anywhere solo to up to 4 people. And it's a variable difficulty dungeon based on how many people you go in with them.
Cool.
And rewards will vary based on that as well. And they're going to start with like 1 in an upcoming patch, and they're going to plan to add more of those. So rather than adding 2 normal dungeons each patch, you'll get like the story dungeon and then one of these Criterion dungeons potentially.
That sounds fun.
That's because it's more of a challenge that is optional content.
No, I think that's a good way of like actually encouraging people to go in. It's like, okay, it's like you want to check it out, you can solo or whatever, but then it's like, okay, we've got more going on if you actually want to take it on with other people.
Comparing it to like maybe like Mythic.
I was about to say,
yeah.
I wonder if this is their kind of thing for instead of a Mythic dungeon.
This is what people are anticipating, because it's not deep dungeon like the Palace of the Dead, because they even said there's a new one of those coming.
Oh my god!
And like one of the next few patches, but. The one big last final change is that the patch cycle, it's always been a fixed amount of time, about every 3.5 months after each expansion, a new patch comes out. That's going to be changing the 4 months going forward. The reason is we want one additional week for extra QA so that they never feel rushed anymore. The other week is for added vacation time so that they could take some time off so the staff aren't
good.
overworked, which is
good.
which is
that is
really,
nice.
really, really good. That's
good to hear.
that because I think a lot of people are concerned with this cycle that they might experience burnout.
Yeah, because they don't put out patches like public test realms. They don't have any of that. It's all internal.
It's all internal to do that. So yeah, free trial just resumed earlier on Tuesday. So the games are being sold, so everything's back.
You can buy it again, yeah.
Yeah, they got data center expansions coming up in the summer through the end of middle of next year to increase that. And the next patch they said is coming out in April. So 6.1 comes out in April. So seems like they are full steam ahead, and a lot of these changes sound exciting.
You got time to play Elden Ring.
Yeah, they knew.
Right?
They're giving you over a month to play Elden Ring. They're like, enjoy your Elden Ring, and then dude, Elden Ring collaboration.
Oh my
Let's
God.
do that. I want the dungeon where it's like
Yeah.
you can't fight. It's like traps only or
Oh
something.
my god, that is so fun.
And invasions, like PvP dungeons.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Oh man.
Dude, Damiani and Brad, I jumped into Lost Ark, played it for
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
played it for like 2 hours, maybe, whatever, just prologue stuff. And I was enjoying the combat. I was playing as an assassin, Deathblade or whatever the hell. But the whole time, I was just thinking with the chintzy writing and ridiculous quest structures and stuff. I'm like, why am I doing that? I could be playing 14. I should just be playing 14.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
Also this week, Assassin's Creed Valhalla has earned over $1 billion in revenue.
Insane.
Fuck.
First
Dr. Evil voice.
Ubisoft game to crack $1 billion.
How many DLCs are there? There's been a lot of DLCs already for that game, right?
Yeah, they've done a few. They've got one that's
I can at least think of
either just
2.
came out or is about to come out. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. According to Jeff Grubb, the words New Vegas 2 have been spoken internally at Microsoft with Obsidian attached.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. It's so funny because it's we
but,
talk about how early
that
Dragon
doesn't mean
Age was
anything,
yeah.
but-
Oh my gosh.
Somebody in a hallway mentioned this.
Yeah. It
could happen
I think that'd
one
be
day.
a good idea. People love that game.
Just this week, Nintendo fully acquired SRD. Didn't know about these guys at all. Longtime partner, going as far back as Donkey Kong and Super Mario Brothers on the NES. They even have an office inside Nintendo's building. And recently, they've had hands in Game Builder Garage, 1-2 Switch, Ring Fit Adventure.
Crazy.
Do you have something you want to pop in there?
No, just that. Yeah, they're just been a support team that's worked on. I feel like every single game. This is what we talk about whenever we talk about Nintendo acquisitions.
Yeah.
It's small scale. Someone who's probably been working for them forever, and they just one day just
bring 'em in.
Bring them in. Someone just decides
Because
to push
they don't
paperwork.
own HAL or Intelligent Systems yet, right? But
Yeah.
they might.
Might as well.
That's who they might
that-
know.
Yeah,
Not
now,
Capcom.
5 years from now, it's like, oh, they finally bought Intelligent Systems outright. It's like, okay, that sure, yeah,
Nothing changes.
yeah.
Yeah. They also, I don't know if I mentioned it, Ring Fit Adventure is another one that they worked
That's the
on.
most recent game, right?
Wow.
I think, yeah.
Nier Automata is getting an anime adaptation by Aniplex.
Okay.
Aniplex, Sony.
Could be good.
Bethesda is dumping its launcher.
Good idea.
Most game saves can be transferred to Steam except for one of the Wolfenstein games for some reason.
That's good.
And Ben Moore is very happy about that.
I mean, I'm happy about that.
I love it. Fury launchers.
Yeah.
Bloomberg reported that the Call of Duty game currently scheduled for 2023 is going to get pushed back to 2024, which
Oh.
would break the Call of Duty streak of having a game
Finally.
out every year.
Interesting. I wonder if they'll replace it with something.
Well, yeah, so apparently
Warzone?
Treyarch's working on some free-to-play title separate from Warzone.
Oh, okay.
But they didn't necessarily confirm that that's a Call of Duty game. I can't imagine that it wouldn't
Yeah.
be, but
If it makes the game better, smart move.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, there've been people talking about this is unsustainable.
Yeah, it
to
is.
keep doing, and Vanguard has not been doing well. So
Yeah. It's doing well overall, but compared to what they expected,
yeah,
yes.
compared, yeah,
Yeah.
It's like the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's
Yeah.
underperforming. Epic is offering hundreds of temp workers, mostly in QA, full positions with benefits.
Hey, that's awesome.
So
Right on.
yeah. There's more details to learn there. It's just a internal letter that got leaked out.
It's a feel-good announcement.
And then in an IGN interview, Kiki Wolfkill confirms we will see Master Chief's face in the Halo TV show.
Oh boy.
No.
It's gonna be like Kakashi, where it's just another mask under it.
What if they cover up Cortana's face so that we never see her
Yeah.
in the show?
No, they've shown her face already, though.
Yeah.
No, I know, but that's why we don't see it in the show, but we saw it in the game.
It's in the promo materials.
Oh, okay.
That would be really funny to put something in those promo materials that
Yeah.
never happens.
That's not the show.
Man, we should do bets before the show about who's the actor who's going to portray the
Playing
face.
Master
Yes.
Chief.
Yes.
Tom
Well,
Cruise.
even if it's the voice, like who will be the face?
Timothy
I know
Oliphant.
because I know in the Mandalorian it was the same actor who did
Yeah.
the face, but maybe they do something different this time.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
William
James Earl
Dafoe.
Jones
Yep.
does
Like
the voice.
Vader. Yeah, Vader is a big
William
one. Yeah.
Dafoe, dude.
Willem Dafoe would be great.
Those damn Covenant.
Wow. What made you want to be a wiki on a Halo?
Let's play a game.
Oh, okay. Nice. Blood moves.
From Alex McMillan. It's a long way to return of That's Not a Port.
Oh.
This we played this 4 years ago,
Oh,
apparently.
damn.
And in those 4 years, we've seen a lot of new games and a lot of new consoles, meaning there's a lot of new ports to pick from.
Okay.
So I'm going to read out a game and work through a list of video game platforms that game is available on. I've actually shuffled these up a lot because at first there was kind of like a more predictable order.
Okay.
So if I read a platform which the game is not available on, you say that's not a port.
Okay.
Okay.
And everyone can only say that once per round. Okay.
Okay.
So you don't get a second chance. So
Okay.
no jumping in, Isla.
I have to
You
jump
tend
in.
to jump in multiple times, though. I mean, that's what I mean. It's like you
I don't-
pick your
Stay
time
on
to jump.
target.
I don't play by your rules, boy. Also, I can look at the rundown.
Oh, that's
No
yeah,
cheating.
I won't cheat.
Anyways, so everyone says that's not a port, and if nobody guesses correctly, I get a point. I didn't even write down my own name
okay.
here. So that's from Alex McMillan in Northern Ireland, and the first one is Portal 2, Nintendo Switch.
It's forthcoming,
That's true.
Yeah.
but does that count?
I think it counts.
Okay, it's been announced, but
Yeah.
it's not yet
It's
out.
not out.
Say,
yet.
yeah.
PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
the first one's on there.
Yeah, it is. That's when Gabe Newell came out.
Ouya.
Oh.
Ooh. That's... Oh, God. He'd be so into, like, Linux stuff. I don't know yet.
Do we have to do it as it comes up, or can we hear them all and then say which one?
No, you have to do it as they come up.
Fine, I'll do it.
Yeah,
That's-
I'll do it for this.
Okay,
That's
you-
not a port.
Okay. So
I'll
Brad
take
got
a
a
shot.
point. First point.
Oh,
That was
right.
the easy one.
Easy.
Missed. Original or remake?
Okay.
Okay.
This is an Isla's
I would better
wheelhouse.
get this, yeah.
Mac OS.
Yeah, definitely.
Atari Jaguar CD.
That's not a port, I'm going to
I
say.
think it might have come out on that, actually.
It might have. I don't know anything about Mist.
It did.
Wow, dude. Wonder how many it sold.
Virtual Boy.
Well, that's
yeah,
not a
that-
port.
Yeah.
I had to think a second. I was like,
It was
wait,
also
what?
it was also on Oculus Quest,
Yep.
Xbox Series X and S.
Yeah, I have it on both of
And
those.
Switch.
I have it on every single one of those platforms except for Jaguar.
Duke Nukem 3D.
No.
Linux.
Ooh, probably.
To do unofficial does it count?
I'm going to wait.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that.
Game.com.
I'm gonna believe it. I believe it.
PlayStation Vita.
That's not
That's
a
not a
port.
port.
It is.
Dang it!
Oh.
Was that?
Nintendo 64.
Oh, did it have one?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, there was a dude.
Yes,
on
it did.
Leapfrog Leapster.
The hell
That's
is?
not a port. That's for children.
Oh, come on.
It also came out on the Xbox 360. The Sims 2. Mac OS.
Yeah.
GameCube.
Sims 2?
GameCube.
Shoot. The Sims 2. I'm staying.
I feel like the timetable is right, but I don't know if it was on. That's not a port.
No, it was. It was
Damn
on
it.
GameCube. I actually have the GameCube copy, I think.
Ooh,
Wow.
Look at you, it's fancy blood.
That's how I played The Sims. I never played the PC. I think I might have reviewed it.
Wow.
Something like that. I might have reviewed like the weird like animal expansion, which they released as like a full game on GameCube. Something weird like that. Java Micro Edition.
What the?
That's not a port?
No, it is. It's on there.
Damn it.
Whatever the heck it is.
Some kind of web applet or something?
Nintendo DS.
I'm not allowed to jump in again.
No,
Yeah.
you're going
I
once.
mean, DS was after, so I could see it possibly being on there.
Take a stance, Damiani.
Take a stance, Tommy.
Take a stance.
Is there another? Is the next
There's
one? or
more,
is
there's
it-
more.
Okay, there's more. Keep going.
Game Boy Advance.
It was definitely on that, right? I'm pretty sure it was. I think it was. I think it was. I'm holding on. I'm right, letting it ride.
PlayStation 3.
Oh, is it on PlayStation?
If it was on GameCube, it had to be.
But
on that,
PlayStation
right?
is later, so it might not have
Yeah.
ever gotten a port on that one. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But would backwards compatibility count?
No, it has to be released on.
Damn it. That's not a port.
Yeah.
There it
It was
is.
not on PlayStation 3.
Too hard to
Oh,
develop
He sniffed it.
For the sun.
Yeah, it wasn't worth the effort.
Yeah, well, they always move on, right? Like once
Right.
they're done.
Yeah,
they're
it was
done.
like this
Yeah.
one. I feel like we got to get. If they go further along, it's not going to be on.
Because
There.
3 came out not. I guess I don't know how long it came after.
Minecraft Story Mode.
Oh, heavens.
Story mode.
This is the Telltale one.
Yeah. Xbox One.
Yeah. Right?
Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
It's on Switch, isn't it? Direct.
Fire OS.
The hell, like Kindle Fire?
No, it's like the Fire Stick
The little
thing.
stick.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I'm gonna say it's on that. I'm waiting.
I bet
still.
it is. I bet it is.
It is.
Oh my gosh,
Stadia.
Oh, probably.
that's not a
Oh,
port.
that's on port.
Brad got it.
No,
Yeah.
Damiani said it first.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, he said
Yeah,
first.
okay. It is also.
I don't trust Stadia.
Yeah,
It is also on Wii U, iOS, Apple TV, and Netflix.
Yeah, you can play it on
Netflix.
Netflix.
Wow.
Dude, Netflix platform. I forgot.
So pissed about that.
The original 1996 version of Tomb Raider.
Yo.
Okay.
What?
PlayStation 1.
Yes.
We all know. That's what most of us played.
That's what I played it on.
Sega Saturn, though.
Ooh,
Oh.
tough one.
Man,
I'm gonna say it's
Saturn.
on there.
Saturn
I
had
think
like
so.
many weird ports.
The N-Gage.
Oh, there were
that's
commercials for
really
that.
funny, yeah,
I swear I saw.
I'm gonna say it's
commercials.
on there.
It is.
Thank goodness.
The Pocket PC.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, what is that?
Shoot. I'll just say that's not a port. I'll throw it out there.
No, it's on there.
Damn it.
Weird. That thing is weird looking.
Gizmondo.
Excuse me?
The what now?
The Gizmondo.
Oh, of course.
Sure.
That seems so random. It has to be real.
iOS.
Oh.
Hang on. The original.
Original Tomb Raider.
1996. Tomb Raider.
There's Go, but the original. That's not a port.
It's on there.
Dang it.
So that's my point. It was Gizmondo. It's not on Gizmondo.
You win again, Gizmondo.
So Damiana and Isla, you tied with
Yay.
just one cage.
Hey, Gizmondo.
Oh, I forgot my Rufus. I thought
Go
I was
get
doing
him.
so well about grabbing all the stuff.
Gizmondo looks like a little
Can you
It's like the size of a Tamagotchi. Like
can you throw it up? Oh.
Oh,
it's like a weird little
Okay.
like freaky looking.
That looks like it would be on that.
Oh, look at the shoulder buttons. It's
Yeah.
got like big weird
I wanna click
chunky
those.
shoulder buttons, dude. Gizmondo.
Wait, scroll up. What was it? It said the former Gizmondo store in London. Must be
boy.
nice. Must
Was
have been-
nice.
Must have been nice
Must have been nice.
for a year.
Yeah.
All right, it's time for Love and Respect. Love and Respect. from LEL. Hey, allies. First, I want to thank you for now saying the score of games at the end of your reviews out loud. This allows me to listen without seeing something I might consider a spoiler, the latest being Elden Ring.
You're welcome.
There's written text also.
Yeah, there's text
our
on the website. Yeah. Which brings to my question: with Elden Ring being open world, how did you decide what was safe to show and what was not? In more linear titles, I imagine it's much simpler, and you don't show anything just nearing the end of the game. But with the freedom of going and exploring anywhere you want, how do you decide what was safe to show and what
Couple
wasn't?
things. There's stuff. First of all, it's early in the game, and I don't want to show stuff that far in the game because I know what it's like to play these games for the first time, and I want to keep those surprises there. There's some surprises early on that I did not want to show that I was like, these should be experienced by players for the first time. Another thing is I asked Blood, and Blood emailed them to see what we should show in this review footage because we don't want to show anything we're not supposed to, so we got a clearer idea, but it looks like a lot of people showed a lot more. I've seen some stuff in some reviews where I was like, woo, I wouldn't have showed that.
There was one update later, too, to where it's like, hey, there's this one boss. Actually, don't show that.
Yeah, exactly. So
originally, it wasn't in the first
but yeah,
restrictions.
I wanted to keep it pretty, like, I wanted it to be mostly what was shown in the network test, like people have seen already.
Yeah.
There was a little more that wasn't in the network text, obviously, but
Yeah.
and
Isla had that big preview, too.
Well,
yeah,
that's-
exactly.
that's what I was gonna say,
it was
like-
all kept in that pretty much.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't tell you for the review, but for the preview, they actually said you can show it. You can talk about and they gave us B-roll for that preview, but they were like, you can talk about anything in this area, and this area, and they actually told me the names of the map areas. I figured they did that for the review too. And as I was cutting Elden Ring, I was keeping in mind like, because I'm always very, very sensitive about showing bosses, especially for stuff like this. And I'm like, okay, that guy was in the trailer. That guy was in the trailer. This guy's minor enough that it won't matter. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yep. So it's pretty much talking about it. I just want to show. I want to show enough to get the point across, but as early as possible if we can do it.
Yeah.
Almost always the company will also say like, don't show anything
Yeah,
after
they usually
chapter
do.
12 or
Let
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But sometimes, like, it'll, like, literally just be like, don't show the last boss on the last cutscene.
Right.
Everything else is open. This is a little bit more in the middle, I think. They give you a big chunk, but then don't go past this.
For Elden Ring preview, they were like, you can talk about this character, don't say their name. And I was like, oh, okay, like whatever. And it wasn't a spoiler that I recognized, so
Yeah.
don't try to divine a spoiler out of what I just said because I didn't know what they were talking about.
And you stayed away from most of the story details this time.
Yeah.
We usually get into the story a
Yeah, I
little
mean,
bit.
like,
but
I didn't really feel like it was necessary for the review to kind of
Yeah.
talk about it, you know?
yeah, it's one of those things that you just got to feel it out.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering, this Love and Respect is the Elden Ring edition. As Ben is playing right now, most of
Yeah.
these questions are Elden Ring related. Highly Anticipated asks, with the embargo for Elden Ring now lifted, it's clear to me that the harmony of two visionaries who are almost opposite but not entirely, Miyazaki and Martin, has paid off big. I'm curious to know what the panel would want from two of their own favorite creators. One from the video game industry and one from another medium is preferred, but even two game creators is all right. I'm sure this has been asked before, but a good refresher is always nice. A real-life example would be like Nintendo and Ghibli creating a turn-based Zelda RPG, or Star Wars authors teaming up with BioWare for Mass Effect.
Oh, so it can be companies. It doesn't have to be people. Because I
Yeah.
was like, Miyazaki's already my guy. Like,
Yeah.
So yeah, some other team-ups that you might think. Also, like, yeah, how much is that Martin influence do you guys see? Is it just very in the background?
a little.
A little, like, to me, it's like, to really see everything, I don't have to play this game several times. But I get, like, brief hints of stuff like that. But not as maybe expected as you would think.
Right.
Like, obviously, he helped with the mythos of the world and all that stuff. But I don't think he, like, wrote, like, dialogue necessarily or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, I was
like,
expecting
yeah.
a lot more like, I don't know, thirst. And I'm
Yeah.
happy that there wasn't much. I mean, obviously the one that everyone says is From Software and Konami with Castlevania.
Oh,
like that would
yeah.
be,
Yeah, like, I wanted... These are two game ones, so it's cheating. I wanted Miyazaki and Fumito Ueda to do something, especially since Ico was what inspired Miyazaki to get into gaming. So I think that they'd make something crazy.
Yeah.
It could be challenging with two visionaries like that or whatever, but I think it'd be cool to see them do something.
Yeah, mine's always been like Ghibli and some collaboration, but obviously it was meant. But it'd be kind of cool to see. So like, kind of channeling a little bit Huber here.
Oh, yeah.
For like horror games, like collaborations. But it seems like one of the more modern contemporary masters of like horror, a certain type of horror, Jordan Peele. Get him to work on like one of those horror franchises for you,
sure.
and have his take on it would be kind of sick. Like maybe like I don't know, like if Konami would allow him to like write Silent Hill or something, make his version of it.
I was trying to think of people who do like great FMV stuff, and so I was thinking Remedy and like Denis Villeneuve, like they would be a match made in heaven, baby. And then like Sam Barlow, like her story with like Ryan Johnson doing like a Knives Out style thing would be kind of fun. Like a mystery like that would be cool.
Yeah.
This is fun to think
What do you think about Blood?
Well, it reminds me of. Do you remember when Spielberg did Boom Blocks?
I do remember that.
Random thing.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Just
Weird.
love it.
Everyone wanted that photo op of him playing the member. Like, up. I was like, oh, come on.
But yeah, that being with EA. I don't have a good one off the top of my head other than just the, that Silent Hills we didn't get.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Guillermo and anybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Guillermo and anybody.
Yeah.
Well, Guillermo and any kind of horror, psychological craziness.
Yeah. Kojima and Guillermo is such a match made in heaven, I think. They're both different kinds of weird, but like a compatible kind of weird.
Yeah.
Bring him up again, but possible. William Dafoe and Kojima.
Yes.
He could easily be in. He's been in games before.
Yes.
He could easily be in a Kojima one.
I guarantee that they've talked on the phone.
Yeah.
Or Kojima's tried it. I bet he's tried it.
He's like, I watched The Lighthouse. I want
Yeah.
him.
It'd be cool to see the Mandalorian crew actually get involved in one of those
Yeah.
Respawn Star Wars games. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Dave Filoni on there?
Yeah,
Totally.
get Dave Filoni in there, yeah.
Sweet. From Alex Castellanos, questioning whether reviews should be considered as such, even if the game hasn't yet been beaten. This is a topic that's been going around a lot this week. What are your thoughts on people acknowledging that their Elden Ring review was an incomplete playthrough of the game, since the reviewer didn't have the time/opportunity to finish, but still issued a review score? Does not seeing the endgame boss disqualify a reviewer from issuing a final verdict? Should these be labeled as review so far or review in progress?
I don't know. I'm kind of like okay with it, I guess, as long as they say they've done it. Like personally, I wouldn't put out my review for this game if I didn't finish it, because I want that whole perspective on it. But I don't know. It doesn't really bother me that much, I guess, because there's so many reviews out there. But I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah. Transparency helps a lot. You need to keep in mind a review is literally one person's take of a game at a point in time. People also write reviews with different intentions. Some people write it as like a consumer guide for whether or not it should be a purchase or rent, buy, whatever, how you want to judge that. Some people, so there's a lot of movie reviewers, they write it like it's a form of like even their review is meant to be kind of like a work in itself, where like they're judging a work of art. So they're judging it solely on quality. They don't care if you ever go see it or not. They're just like telling you how good this is for the discussion of like kind of like legacy type stuff. I think all these are valid because, it's just one person's like perspective on the game. And if you really want to get into the numbers game, not review score numbers, but just like statistics, overwhelming majority of people don't finish the games they ever play that they buy. So a lot of people who might look at a review do not care if you beat the boss because they're not going to see it either. They're generally just looking like, I just want to know if this like any good or not, and like I want to know if a lot of people are saying if this game is good or not. So if you played like a significant portion of the game but you didn't beat it, but you say like, man, this what I played was really awesome, to a lot of people that's good enough for them. Like, oh, I'm going to go out and try this game, I'm going to play it for X amount of hours, and like if you feel you got your value's worth or you enjoyed it, that's enough for you, even if you didn't finish the game. Like I'm not saying everyone does this, but sometimes it feels like there needs to be a validation of opinion by proving your gamer card or whatever because like you beat a game or you beat it on this difficulty or you did this amount of hours into it, and it's like it almost feels like gatekeeping creeping into reviews. There's nothing wrong with saying that I beat the game, I played on the hardest difficulty for the sake of I just want you to have my perspective. But if anyone's ever trying to say like that opinion is more worthwhile than someone else's review, it's like they're both subjective. Like you might find it more worthwhile, but this other person might not, like it might not be as worthwhile to them.
Yeah.
Like you just got to know your preferences and find other people that kind of speak to those, and that's generally like a good advice in general. Just
Right.
like,
But when you see something like, I think this is maybe one of the reasons that there's a little bit of questioning of this and pushback is, Elden Ring right now, he's got like one of the highest percentages of 10 out of 10s, but you didn't get that game that far in advance.
Right.
You barely scraped through to get that review done.
I messaged Blood. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this in time, but luckily
and
I
you
did.
put 55 hours in.
Yeah.
At like very short amount of time, and some people, put in more time than that and hadn't actually finished it, but just kind of like put that out there. But it is that question is like, okay, well, if you're giving it a 10 out of 10, but you haven't seen you haven't seen, not even necessarily everything, but not the full main story.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tricky, I
Yeah.
guess. Like, I don't know if there's a correct answer necessarily for that kind of thing. Like, for one reason I would want to roll credits is because, like, the ending of a game is super important in a lot of senses. Like, it can really bring things together or really ruin something, in my opinion. So that's why I like to see it, but I don't know if you're like really hung up on Metacritic scores and stuff like that, and maybe it'll bother you more or something like that. Like a game that someone didn't finish getting this 10 out of 10 and being counted among these like scores, maybe people won't see them as official or something like that. But I don't know. It doesn't personally bother me that much, but I see the other side of it.
It's a sticky wicket because like I don't disagree with you guys, but at the same time, obviously games are like a way bigger time ask than a movie. But like, if a movie reviewer left with 30 minutes left of a movie, you'd be like, what?
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, it would be like, what? If a book reviewer stopped reading a book and then wrote a review and gave it a score, you'd be like, what? What are you doing?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, so are games not art? It goes back to that debate. And it's just like,
my only argument against that is the games are like movies and books are like purely a passive thing. You're not actually interacting with it, I guess. Like,
but
you're
it's
not
just
playing
to me it undersells the importance of the art that the team has made, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I guess it varies from game to game, but like, From Software, they care about the end of their game.
I mean, that's true, but that's just to Brad's point that they're passive, mostly passive. It's that they're strictly, almost entirely, purely narrative driven, whereas there are countless games that there have nothing to do with narrative in them, and and don't even have a roll credits. Potentially, like how do you define Fortnite's end?
Right.
Well,
That game,
exactly.
like how do you review a game like that? Then, like, I understand that's why like it comes down to like if you're playing a mostly narrative driven game, like a Life is Strange. To me, it would seem a little bit weird if you didn't finish that narrative and you gave it like a great score praising the narrative without knowing its conclusion, or something like a 12 minutes. Like if you,
Right.
to me, if you don't finish it, it's like, well, then something was wrong here and you didn't really like it, so that's a red flag to me.
Right.
Whereas something like a Mario game, like even if it has story, like that's not any of the driving force. If you played most of Super Mario Odyssey but you didn't see roll credits on it, but like I can trust you are qualified enough to say like you had a blast of a time. Like this is excellent design, excellent gameplay mechanics. Like from the game perspective, it is exceptional. So
I think you've hit...
there's no like rubric for all this like movies and books have, where there's kind of like a standardized format that everyone can judge it by.
Well, I think the rubric is a word you just said. It's trust. Like if you trust the reviewer that you're reading or listening to or watching a video from, and they say, I didn't finish it, but I'm very confident in this thing. And if you personally trust that person, then that's good enough, right? Like, if you don't trust a reviewer and they're like, yeah, I didn't bother finishing it, then you're like, okay, well, I don't trust you anyways. So
Sure.
I think that's the rubric. That's the metric.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I think for me, like one of the things, like any time that I have in the past at game trailers or whatever, like put out those reviews where it's like, well, I didn't have time to finish it. I just needed to get it done, because I was being told to get it done. Like every one of those instances, like I just have that sense of regret with,
Sure, yeah.
And people that are not reviewers just don't seem to get it. Like, why would you write a review if you didn't finish it?
Yeah.
And I had those conversations, and I like heard myself speaking, and I was like, I sound like an idiot right now.
Sure. Yeah. Totally.
But the length is definitely a big thing, and then, yeah, there's definitely genres like fighting games,
Yeah,
and racing
and,
games,
like-
and stuff to where like beating it doesn't even mean necessarily
Exactly.
anything.
You could be a fighting game and
Right.
you're transparent. Like, I don't play fighting games. So a lot of people are like,
Right.
don't care about your review. So, I mean,
But to me, there's also like so many instances where like you take like an RPG or whatever, and it's like the silly meme of it's like, oh, it'll get good after the first 10 hours. You can't just play 5 hours of that game and know what the game is
Or
like.
like if rolling credits is the metric, like Monster Hunter Rise, you get credits like after killing 6
Yeah.
monsters, and you're like, what the hell? What's happening
Animal Crossing.
right now?
Same like
Yeah.
Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
You roll credits, but the meat of the game is
The
after.
real game is after the credits,
Get
yeah.
it. And I also want to point out the flip side of this. You were talking about like good scores here. And full transparency, I did not roll credits on Final Fantasy 14 1.0 when I
Right.
reviewed that. But I didn't need to play that game till its end to know it was trash. It was like,
Exactly,
you
yeah.
know a game is trash. You
Yeah.
play a game for like, I mean, I played for more than 20 hours, but like you put in 15, 20 hours in a game and it's just sucking. It's like you can stop.
Right.
Like it doesn't matter how good the ending is. Like, oh, it's the best ending in the world, but all 50 hours leading up to it are trash. That's a do not play the game. Go watch the ending on YouTube or
Actually,
something.
one that I don't regret, I couldn't beat the last boss in Dewey's Adventure on the Wii.
Dewey's Adventure. Wow.
Trying to beat that thing with the motion controls
Oh, dear.
and everything was just like, just stop.
That was
please.
almost me on that Fable Connect game I had to review.
But you see,
Yeah.
but that's part of it though, because like, okay, I didn't finish it, but I saw the last boss and like all these cute little mechanics. Like once you put it into like this huge, super challenging boss fight, it's like now it doesn't hold up. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a tricky thing to deal with, but it goes back to the problem of, like no other medium is like polishing what they're doing until like 5 p.m. the night before. I saw somebody say that like book reviewers sometimes get the books months in advance. I'm like, that's freaking sweet.
Yeah, screener things of shows like it's just a different beast. And on top of that, yes, we get director's cuts, but generally updates to movies and books don't generally happen in the frequency or the scale that we get in games as well. Like a lot of games now are like living products that get updated over time. So
The disc versions don't even resemble
yeah,
what
so like
people
you're
buy on
reviewing
day
it at
one,
this
yeah.
point, and it's like a year later the game could be completely different. It's also kind of challenging to juggle that now as well. Like we got that question, was it last week, about should you go back and update your scores? And it's like I was on the side of no, because like you look at a review as a point in time. Like it's also historical. It lets you know at that point this game was this. If you want to update, you don't update that. You make something new to talk about the game in this year. Like that was my
Well, like
solution, yeah.
remember we skipped reviewing Chorus because you looked at the notes of like all the stuff
It
that
felt
was
unfair.
supposed to change.
I was like,
yeah.
it was the first game I've encountered where they're like, you really can't review this until day of or night before when we do this day one patch live for you. And I'm like, so you did all this time I put in like doesn't count now because it could be vastly different. And in terms of like the bugginess of experience, I was like, I hate this. I'm like, I never want to deal with this again. I'd rather wait until after launch, but we had other stuff. So I'm like, it's not going to fit in. So never had to really deal with that before. Like now that's the reality we live in, is that even getting a game early, they could just drop that on you out of the blue. Day one patch dropping today, and like hopefully you play that part again if you have a way to play that part again to reevaluate it. It's like, oh, what? Make multiple saves.
Yeah, and I think what's one of the issues too is just that pressure of, like all these outlets, like they're trying to hit the reviews on embargo. You actually were able to do it, and like that becomes more important to a lot of people than anything, because they know like people are just going to go somewhere else if
they
their
don't have
review's not
it.
up in time.
Yeah.
Which I've totally pushed back on. Like anytime somebody like gets onto us and says, that our review is late or whatever, it's like I actually see, that there's, it's not as high as when we hit embargo, but we get a lot of interest from people to see our reviews, even if they're 2 weeks later, or sometimes we've had some that are like 3 or 4 weeks later, and
if it's a Nintendo
they'll still
game.
do fairly well. And so I think that's something that like I don't have anyone specifically in mind, but like I feel like there's this fear from outlets and editors and stuff to like we have to get it out, or else the eyeballs will just be gone. And I think that if people actually care about your reviews and trust your reviews, that like they'll still come around, but it just might not be as high of a number. Yeah.
Just might be the audience that just cares about the review score more.
Yeah.
Or
well, that's the other thing that's bizarre to me about it, is because it's like, okay, I know the people that are looking at these reviews day one when the most traffic happens are the people that are most likely going to buy it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, whether they see the reviews or not, they're probably still going to buy it unless it's really like in a totally different direction and fell flat on its face.
It's been around since the dawn of like gaming. It's just people seeking validation of their opinions. They want to see what the quote unquote professionals, the people who they look up to. Oh, did you think this game is good too? Great. I think it's going to be great too. Yay, I feel right. Like I feel good in supporting this game. I mean, also as the toxic trickle down into like the old console war crap.
Right.
Every time there's a first party Sony review that goes up, it's like just as many people seeking validation as like they prefer Sony games and Sony platform, seeing it get a high score to if it doesn't get above a 9 or whatever, everyone else validates like there's another Sony exclusive that's not as good. Like it's just
well, even Brad, like people
so
ask
weird.
Him, like, why did you give it a 10? What took away the 0.5? And, like it's a 9.5, people. We've given 350 reviews. Only 16 of them have gotten 9.5.
Yeah. I was close to 10.
It's hard to get there.
It was even more absurd when we were more granular back in the day when you gave that game a 9.3 versus not 9.5, or you gave it a 9.8, not a perfect 10. It's like, wait, what? Like, really? Are you arguing over decimal points, like 0.1, 0.2 here? It's like, to be honest, like, how do you even like there's a whole can of worms with that about quantifying like how you can be that specific, but
well, the beauty is there's so many reviews you can look at nowadays. There's a ton, and like if you're unsure about a game, you can just how crazy you can just watch gameplay of the game like on demand essentially anytime you want, or someone streaming the full game, you can get an idea of the game. So
but I think like you're saying, like being open of like whether you finished it or not is important. Regardless. And then I do think there's more room to there's a strategy that we take on and that we use is like, okay, if we can't hit this review, then let's at least try to put something out
we were
there.
talking
tell
about
people
that.
about, we'll do a video to tell people what we think so far and, at least give them that.
Review in progress or impressions thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And sometimes even if we can't do a full review, like here's what we think. We're not going to finish through the whole thing, but here's an idea to give you a yes or no kind of recommendation.
Yeah. I think the most important part in my opinion, the most important thing that should come out of like why reviews even happen. This is like why I do them, or what I like get excited about, and maybe more so in the past is why I was so excited about reviews was like it's a part of a discussion. It's like one of the phases of the discussion of this game. And I always loved like seeing the discussions that came out of like looking at everyone's review and then people, playing it themselves and then contributing to the discussion. It always felt like an ongoing process, and it felt really good to be a part of that. And it always felt weird that like absolutes were always tried to be drawn out of that. Like, yes, I understood why there was outrage over like the infamous Gerstrom Twilight Princess review. Like, oh no, Nintendo fans get upset because they got an 8.8 or whatever. Right. And it's like that's like, yeah, I know why, but like at the same time, like that's so absurd. Like I never it was like this, that's the immature side of it. But again, like that's the satisfaction I get out of reviews is I like having a discussion about it. And as you said, Brad, there's so many ways to participate in that discussion now. Even if you don't like the old style of review, you just go watch a Twitch personality playing the game, or you tune into a podcast or discussion where there multiple people have played it, so you're getting multiple perspectives on the game. And then like you're participating on whatever social media platform discussing the game with other friends and strangers. Like that's the fun part about it, like just having that conversation and that discussion. So my advice would be like people like, yes, I know why we have scores, but like don't even focus so much on the score, and like don't get so worked up about one person's opinion. Just like take it as something as part of the discourse and like bounce off of that to share your own contribution to the discourse as well.
It's time for bets.
Whoa.
This week's bet, Gran Turismo 7 launches on Friday, March 4th. I already have the review copy. That's about all I can say about that. And it has a used car dealership that changes stock every day. How much, when I go in there next week, how much will the most expensive car be when I check the shop? Currently, there's a 2009 Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren going for 496,600 credits. Brad, what's your bet?
550,000.
550. All right. Damiani. 550.
Well,
All right.
all right, ride or die.
Isla,
I edged you out. I did 600,000.
All right.
600K.
Ugh.
Well, I've got the low then. That's
549.
397,682.
I love that. Very specific. Blood has some inside knowledge.
No, it's just from past bets that like, yeah, so we don't hit the same exact number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that. All right. Last week's bet is the eve of Elden Ring. We're going to go through the top 10 critic reviews on OpenCritic
Oh, I lost this one.
and find out how many times we'll see the any form of the word punish. Punishing, punishment, all of that. Damiani bet 50 times.
Yep.
Ben bet 17 times. Important to note that Sekiro had 15.
Okay.
1-5.
Yeah. Isla bet 12.
Ah.
And I was just in the middle there. I bet 13. The answer? Only 7 times.
Whoa.
Isla wins. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, I don't think I used that word once.
I didn't look at yours.
Yeah, I'm just
I
saying, I
know.
don't think I did.
But there are a lot of people that didn't use them at all, yeah. A couple that had it twice. So that brings the scores to Massive Chubs 2, Splish. And Malodorous Sea Lions 3. Let me tell you about patreon.com/easyallies. Patreon is how we are supported. That's how this podcast gets made. That's how these reviews get made. We don't charge you at the door, but if you come in and support us, we can keep going, and you get some fun rewards at various levels. At the $1 level, everyone gets access to this podcast ad-free. There's a special version there on Patreon for that, and a special RSS feed that goes along with it. You also get 2 extra bonus love and respect questions every week, so keep an eye out on that. If you've just been on the public feed and you're a patron, you get that bonus as well. And then if you go up to the $5 tier, you get 2 days early access for the podcast, and you also get to submit to Love and Respect and the games and all that. And then the tip top of our patron tiers right now is the shout out tier. And these folks get a shout out in many of our podcasts. So shout out to Caleb Togi Crawford, Elthanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, Nick, and Raymond Wheeler III. Shout out.
Out.
All right, Isla, you get to promote any Easy Eyes video you'd like to promote. You get the final word on anything you've disagreed with, want to reiterate, or just popped in your head right now. And you get to sign off with your trademark sign off.
Our Patreon also has wonderful exclusives like Trash Babies
Ooh!
and Fast and Loose, which just came out today on my birthday. Check them out. Yeah. I don't remember anything we talked about, so I don't remember if I disagreed with anything. I'm just excited to play Elden Ring. It's 5:30 right now, so that's in a couple hours. I can't wait. Best birthday present ever. Good night and good gaming.
Elden Ring.
The Easy Allies would like to thank our Patreon podcast producers. We apologize in advance for all the ally names we are about to misspell and mispronounce. Caleb Togi Crawford, L. Thanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, Nick, Raymond Wheeler III, Edsger M. Hernandez, Stomps, Walker Hope, Will Schmuck, Alexander Zirianov, Ali Cat, Arvind Rajan, Beaten Down Brian, Bradley Spees, Discarded Digit, Douglas Chomich, Esdocal, Freya Lawson, Hayden Hargraves, Happy Gaming, Jay Shee, Jesper Popmel Dufay, Jesse Blue, Jose Gutierrez, Miguel Rivas, Nicholas Johnson, Paulo Costabel, Richard G. Flowers, Robert Stoffel, Roy Sung, Sage Mode Q, Sigma, S-Snake 24, Chum Nguyen, Valmar, Aurelien Grenier, Blue, Brandon White, Brian Kruger, Dale Sun, Dave Red, Gary James, G. Levin, James Vitt, John Burns, Kroldemort, Lath, Luke Bennett, Mango, Marcel Markov, Mark J. Betters II, Matthew Holcomb, Matthew Pauling, Nathan Watkins, Oni Blackmage, Pete Shoemaker, Rob Bob Will, Robert Crouch, Sam Handrick, Stepan Hakobian, Stephen Thomason, The Banana Forklift Killer, Tom Eierman, Rack. 44 stars, Anish Dor, Accounts Payable, Adam Henry, Alex Monaco, Alexander Irving, Andreas Risberg, Anthony Galvin, Barry Tomasini, Bjarnar Haraldsvik, Blake Bonsack, Breadroll Art, Brian Foster, Briscoe Davis, Brittany Fuller, Bunny Chen, C.S. Lewis, Katie Garza, Chase Caldwell, Candy Coated Thorns, Chief Uhu, Christian Semniak, Christian Hundorf, Christoph Fatui, Christopher Santis, Clay Roberts, Cody Westley, Corey Jackson, Culinary Stud, Cyberboa, Damnable Nook, Dan Sebring, Daniel Wong, David Wilson, David Boyarski, Delisi, DF, Dimitri Zetas, Don Turner, DRD 7 of 14, Edison S. Prada Jr., Eric Maynard, Eric Tobias, Eric Gustafson, Espen Gotchman, Ethereal Ether, Faraz Rizvi, Fishflop, Forrest, Gabriel Aberg, Giant 49er Fan, Glenn Olson, Gustav Strombaum, Hadi Ali, Helen Y, Hitman 47, Hugo Aguilar, Isun Chor, Ian Anderson, Isaac Swanson, Ivan Swade, Jay Alyar, Jameson Lapine, Jana, JC3, Jeffrey Ruchtenwald, Jeremy Ferris, Jesse Fish, Jesse Wilkeson, Jethrin, Joe Frantic, Joey Din, John Gallagher, Jojo Denko, Jordan Phillips, Joshua Vanswall, Julius Garcia, Junya Motomura, Justin Payne, Carl Williams, Kevin Gillet, Leon Keys, Lindsay Wells, Linson Wu, Liam Ahern, Luis Ibarra, Lion Crown 19, Malcolm Moschette, Manuel Thomas, Marcel Giroux 017 Froelich, Marco Hernandez, Materia Addict, Matthias Clare, Matt Ferguson, Matt Karwoski, Matthew Holmes, Matthew T. Ryan, Mazrim Tame, Megadet, Megan McDonough, Michael Bisegli, Michael Clendenan, Michelle Nubb, Miguel, Mikhail Aniel, Mike Hook 1, Mikey Mizek Novak, Misuki 211, Mither Strongbeard, Mo Grant, Monica, Mr. Anarchy, Mr. Matati, Nefertiti Jenkins, Nevi Sun, Ulf himself, Oru Gacchino, Pablo Rodriguez, Paul Sway, Philip Higdon, Quinn Riley, RF Switch, Rafa David, Reed Johnson, Ritz 1906, Roy Eschke, Russell Bateman, Ryan Anderson, Salvers, Sam Sorensen, Samuel Copeland, Sebastian Urban, Sebastian Trier, Shaz, Sneaky Gato, Splontot, Stefan Hines, Strikeout NZ, Super 3D Cow, T-Beaks 15, Tense George, The Classiest Hobo, Tim Stroffman, Thomas Blaze Fauchereau, Tim Mann, Tim O'Keefe, TJ Sullivan, Toasty Soul, Travis Ing, Trevor Thomas, Tristan Howard, Trizac, Tuttle, V8 Dave, V. Kira Ray, Volker Bach, Wavy Chula, Willow Pingree, Wouter DeHaze, ZK.